Good evening, good evening. Peace, love, and blessings to everyone on tonight. Thank you all so much for tuning in. When you come in, please hit that like button, comment, share, subscribe to the channel so that whenever we go live, you will be notified. Shout out to everyone in the comment section. Shout out to Mr. Bass in the bag. Shout out to my girl Vita, Trey Lynn. Once again, when you all come in, please hit that like button, comment, share, subscribe. I have a major headache right now, so I'm not sure I'm going to be in here with you all night, but all is well. All is well. I went outside, sat outside for a moment, middle of my forehead started pounding. So, y'all, I'm dropping me some now for it. So, like I said, I'm not sure how long I'm going to be in here, but anywho, peace, love, and blessings to everyone for tuning in. If you're catching the show on the replay, please hit that like button, comment, share, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so that when we go live, you will be notified. Once again, peace, love, and blessings. Shout out to the family in the comment section. Once again, shout out to the family in the comment section. That's Vita, Trey Lynn, my boy Smitty, Mr. Peace, love, and blessings to you all. Okay, so I'm about to bring Mr. Bass up tonight. We're going to be discussing how the beast system is trying to hide in plain sight. So, however, whenever they come with whatever they come with, will you submit or you wait for God? So, there's some content that's being brought forth that's explaining a lot of it and what's going on. Also talking about bricks and just different things of that nature for y'all to be aware of, and how a lot of them are turning away from the American dollar, which means that it's planned. It is their plan, and it's been a plan in the making. So once again, you all, thank you all so much for tuning in. Hit that like button, comment, share, subscribe, so when we go live, you'll be notified. Thank you all so much, Mr. Bass.
Peace and blessings. Praying for you, sister.
All right. Yeah, it's an attack. It's an attack. I sat outside with my clients for a minute. We sat out there, and I wasn't even out there sitting long, and out of nowhere, the center of my forehead, where my gland is, started pounding like I've never experienced a headache in that part of my head. You know that's weird. And immediately when it started pounding, there was like a drain, and then my eyes. It was weird. It was just weird, and I automatically knew that it was spiritual. So it's well. Yeah, all is well. It just it's just all about being covered, and it's all about being covered and daily, because at the end of the day, we wrestling against spiritual wickedness in high places, which is doing all type of things. You got the government putting allegedly you got the government putting all types of things out here that is attacking the reproductive system, growth, all of that. It's just a lot going on, and
True.
it's an attack, but all is well. Yeah, all is well. So I'm gonna pass it on over to you, Mr. Bass. Shout out to Smitty. Thank you, Vita, Lillian. Thank y'all, sisters. So I'm about to drop these Benadryl, Mr. Bass. So Um, I'm in here until I fall asleep.
Yeah, I was going to say you need to get some rest.
Huh?
Yeah. Yeah, I was just getting ready to say you need to get some rest.
Yeah, I know, right? Then two,
Hmm.
I've been on a 2 going into 3 week. No, I've been on the 2 going on 3 week no off day. So yeah, and then on top of that, happened to um
Yeah, like running
take care of
around.
business on the other end. But Mr. Bates, I know when I'm tired or whatever. This is not that. Yeah,
Yeah, I understand.
this is not that. There was a pain that went through the center of my forehead that started paining in the center where my my pineal gland is. Yeah, yeah, but it's well though. It's well. It's well. It's well. But I'm finna go on mute, Mr. Bass, and I'm gonna pass it over to you. Thank you, love. I love you. I'm in here. Like I say, y'all, I love y'all till I fall asleep now. Cause I'm about to drop these Benadryl. Shout out to Parch, peace, love, and blessings. Okay, Smitty. All right, I'm going on mute, Mr. Bass.
Uh, Father God, we thank and praise you and give you all the glory for the death, burial, and resurrection of our Lord and Savior, Yeshua HaMashiach, Jesus the Christ. And Father God, we thank you that we are covered in his blood. And Father, we know that according to your words, by his stripes, we are healed. And Father God, we stand together as a family unit tonight, coming against the principalities and powers of wickedness that be trying to attack us and coming at us. And we know that because of your spirit, because of your word, because of your love, we have power over the enemy. And Father God, I just thank you that we are healed by the stripes of Jesus. And Lord God, I thank you that you're working in us to know it, to let us know, and that to make us aware by your word, by your spirit, when we are being attacked, when people are lying to us. Lord God, we thank you for that perception in you and for all that you're doing for us. Father God, I just thank you for another blessed day. And Lord God, it's all because of you, all because of you. And we know that you will continue to open our eyes and ears and give us words to speak as long as we seek you and seek your word and get your word embedded in our hearts. Just thank you so much. In Jesus' name, amen. Well, family, we're going to get started with the content that Boss Lady put together for us. And I'm going to mute up and pull up the
Amen.
first video. Excuse me. Mm. And we're going to go from there. But we know that the beast is out here, and we need to be in touch, in touch daily, in prayer daily, seeking God's face, his voice, just seeking him out constantly, communicating, relationship, relationship.
I bring to you a trifecta of closures. We've got a Walmart, we've got a Walgreens, and we've got an Aldi grocery store, all closing within a North Minneapolis community. Main story is, why are they closing Walmart? Community members are upset over announced closure of store in Brooklyn Center. Now, we've covered Walmart before, haven't we? Yeah. But now we got Walmart, Walgreens, and Aldi's. Some of the stuff in here is a little bit different. So we're going to get into it. We're going to see what the deal is in Minneapolis. But yeah, we seem to be closing down a lot more stores than opening them up. What do we got going on? Let's get into it. Let's jump on in. Here we go. Champagne Woodruff said that she shops daily at Walmart in Brooklyn Center and plans to do so until the doors close. Unfortunately for her, that'll be closing soon. That's not good. Sign at the front door of the store located at 1200 Shingle Creek Crossing says it'll be closing April 21st. It gives no further explanation. So often corporate deals are just like, yep, shut her down. Don't say anything. We're just going to exit out of this situation and pretend like nothing's wrong. Hey, we appreciate so many of you patrons that have shopped at our store, but unfortunately, we've looked at the books. They are not good. You guys are stealing way too much of our stuff. Plus, we got all it's in the parking lot going on, stuff happening in the store. We got security issues. Yeah. So we had to shut her down. You'll never, ever hear that in one of these corporate shutdowns, will you? Now, of all the store closures I've covered, how many of them just been honest? Like, well, what'd you expect? You guys are robbing us blind. What'd you expect? Nah, it never goes down like that, does it? It's always, you know what? It's not you, it's us. We just can't figure out a way to make this work. And then everybody in the stores are like, what the hell is the deal? The parking lot's jam-packed full. Well, that's the problem. A certain percentage of those folks out there are wildly addicted to drugs, and they need to get their next fix, and they're going to steal stuff to make that happen. Oh, that's no good. That's saying the quiet part out loud, isn't it? Huh. The front door said, yeah, we're closed. Walmart's decision to leave, another blow to a neighborhood with a large Black population, comes on the heels of Aldi closing a store in North Minneapolis and a nearby Walgreens closing shortly afterwards. So the Aldi and the Walmart are about 3.5 miles away. The Walgreens is very close to that Aldi. So you got 3 big corporate structures that have said, no mas to North Minneapolis. No mas. We out of here. Brooklyn Center location, which has been in operation since 2012, is one of 10 stores nationwide the retail giant is closing, according to USA Today. A Walmart spokesperson said that while the underlying business is strong, the Brooklyn Center store hasn't performed as well as we had hoped. You might as well cut and paste these explanations to every one of these corporate. Hey, we know it's busy. It's not performing as well as we'd hoped. Why is that? Why is this one store not performing as well as we'd hoped? Now, it's a combination of factors, isn't it? Yeah. How much loss, prevention is going out the door? How much extra are they having to spend on security? What kind of shenanigans are going on in the parking lot? Do they have security issues? Do they have people breaking in? Do you have a bunch of homeless people in the community? Have you got that going on? Do you just have a general community that, isn't providing what corporate needs, which is a little tiny thing called profit? Because these stores are busy. Walmart, absolutely no issues there. It's just that on a profitability standpoint, they ain't cutting it. So then you got to kind of look deeper than, hey, the parking lot's full, and kind of figure out, all right, there's stuff going on here. And it's not Walmart's problem. It's not Aldi's problem. It's not Walgreens' problem. They're a business like anybody else, and they're a big, ruthless corporate structure. You know what? When things go sideways, they shut her down. Who's been saying, how many times have I talked about the CEO of Walmart saying, hey, you got 2 options here, folks. You keep stealing our stuff, keep walking out the front door with our stuff. One of 2 things is going to happen. Prices go up, we shut down your store. Here we are. Here's your sign. Closure is something the 31-year-old Woodruff described as devastating as she asked her mother where they would be shopping. Everybody, if you're 31 and you got to ask your mom where you're going to be shopping, I'm not trying to be mean here. And I'm sure it's more of a rhetorical question. And I do feel horrible for the folks that are honest, God-fearing people who care about their community, who pay their taxes, who work super hard. And now they're going to be out a Waldi, a Walgreens, I almost said Waldi, an Aldi, and a Walmart. I mean, not to say that there aren't other places for these folks to shop, but Walmart is a big thing in a lot of communities because it's got inexpensive, decent quality goods. Let's call it that. And they're an important fixture of any community. But if the environment isn't right, and let's be honest, there are thousands of these types of stores throughout the United States that aren't closing. So what's going on? Everybody knows me here. I come here every day. It's convenient for me to come here. And now y'all are leaving. I'm disappointed, Woodruff said. We're devastated. And it's devastating for the communities that can afford it the least to have these stores leave. And that sucks. But it's also about business. And business has no touchy-feely, hey, I'm really sorry you're losing your store. And I'm really sorry that, you're elderly and you can't afford anywhere else. I'm really sorry that you're working hard, but not making enough money to afford a car. I'm really sorry you got to take a bus to get to the store. And that sucks. But we're a corporation. And guess what? We are beholden to our shareholders to make a profit. And your store isn't making a profit. So we got to ixnay the Walgreens in your store, in your community. So Woodruff arrived at the Walmart parking lot around 2:30 p.m. Thursday with her mother. Both women grabbed a cart for groceries and other household items that they planned to buy. Walmart is the least expensive store in the area, according to Woodruff. And that's what you hear so often, right? And think of it as most affordable, right? Most affordable. Walmart media relations manager Robert Aritia told Sahan Journal, the company owns the property and the facility will be reevaluated for use at a later date, meaning it's going to get sold. Because if they're going out now, how long is it going to take for that area to turn back around? If ever? Yeah, who knows, right? I don't want to ever count out areas because sometimes you have a rejuvenation, but a lot of times it's kind of a one-way spiral and it ain't up, right? We're grateful to the customers. Here's the corporate speak. We are grateful to the customers who have given us the privilege of serving them at our Brooklyn Center locations. We look forward to serving you at our other stores in the surrounding communities and on Walmart.com. Now, you might say, hey, Sean, there is a retail apocalypse going on out there. And I would say, I know, I podcast about it all the time. But the anomaly there is that you got some stores that are left open. You got some stores that get closed down. Yeah. Walmart said employees at the Brooklyn Center location will be eligible for transfer. Okay. So the closest is a store in Brooklyn Park, some 6.5 miles away. The store's pharmacy team. And that's the other thing that I talk about a lot is elderly folks who need to get prescription medication because they're old and their bodies need stuff. Blood pressure medication, whatever it might be. You got to go to your pharmacy and, Walmart's got it. Walgreens has it. Aldi's, I don't think has it. I had never really shopped. Aldi's is owned by the same parent company as Trader Joe's, I believe, and it's out of Germany. I enjoy shopping at Aldi's, and shoot me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure I shop at an Aldi's with my mom. Mom, if you catch this podcast next time we talk, let me know. Is it an Aldi's we shop? I'm 99% sure, but my head is sometimes not, it's not screwed onto my neck, right? So, but Aldi's is kind of a discount grocery store, but it's got some good stuff. It's got decent produce. It's got decent meat. It's got kind of like off-kilter, off-brand stuff. And you're like, I've never seen this before, but I'll give it a whirl. This looks like good Rocky Road ice cream. You know what I mean? So you're like, and how can you go wrong with Diet Coke? You can't. I'm just going to take this. And it's affordable. And it's also the Aldi's that I've shopped at in Oklahoma City. It's the one I've talked about before. You got to put a quarter in and you get your shopping cart, and then put your shopping cart back and you get your quarter back. You know, tiny little things like that seem like it reminds me of German engineering, right? All right, let's do this and we'll get this. This might work out slightly better than 1,000 shopping carts, you know, all on their side with their wheels knocked off. Why are they closing a Walmart in a black neighborhood? Kennedy said as she loaded rolls of paper towels and laundry detergent into her minivan. Well, because it wasn't profitable and they made a corporate decision and they said, Walmart isn't viable in your community. I mean, that has nothing to do with the black neighborhood. It has to do with the store underperforming, period. So it's unfortunate that it's in a black neighborhood. That really sucks. But I would say the same thing about a white neighborhood. I would say the same thing about a Hispanic neighborhood. I would say the same. It sucks. People are going to lose their store. But this is what you get. This is what happens, unfortunately, in communities where the stores aren't viable. She works in a group home close to Walmart and shops there for low prices and a wider range of products. I bring them here. It's closer to the home and reasonable. It's reasonable. Who doesn't want to shop at Walmart? It's reasonable. Closest grocery store to the soon-to-be closed Walmart is a Cub Foods, less than a mile away. It's a 10-minute walk from the Walmart, but still difficult for those without reliable transportation. Because, you know, that 10-minute walk, all right, you got to walk your groceries back. You know, that sucks for some people. So I come here every day, Kennedy said. Now that they're leaving, it's like they're taking everything away. Well, you know, agreed. But this is what the CEO would say would happen. This is where we go. This is the hardcore reality of capitalism. If it doesn't work, it gets shut down because you don't keep running that because there's no, you know, governmental feeding of this entity. You might say, well, Sean, there's corporate bailouts. Yeah, there's corporate bailouts. But have you seen a Walmart bailed out lately? Yeah, I might regret saying that, but I don't think I've seen that. And of all the closures that we're talking about, they're often happening in lower socioeconomic areas where you've got a high theft, you know, percentage going on. That sucks, but you know, this is what it is. All right. So here's the second story. This is Walgreens. A week after Aldi announced it would close its store in North Minneapolis, another major retailer says it will also leave the community. The Walgreens at West Broadway and North Lyndale Avenue will close February 22nd. Pharmacy files will be automatically transferred, yada, yada. It's another blow to the community, said Crystal Porter, executive director of the West Broadway Business and Area Coalition. We're, you know, in some of these areas and some, you know, you've got like areas in Detroit where this has happened, where there's just been, you know, we call it a food desert, where big corporate has pulled out all their stores because it went through such, you know, tough economic times with the whole auto industry, all that going on. And you had steel industry was really big. And then it's not. And then all the, you know, employment dries up and you've just got a situation where shit hits the fan and things go sideways, and big corporate, if they got other stores in the rest of the United States, they're not going to stay in one that isn't making money. So I think it's going to have a very negative impact on all the businesses, Porter said. We're in a situation that we are losing businesses that we depend on. We were already living in a desert when it came to goods and services. In 2019, Walgreens announced it would shutter 200 stores across the country to cut costs. In the fall, Walgreens reportedly closed several pharmacies nationwide, including its central New York, Boston, and Lexington, Kentucky. As we expand as a leader in healthcare, we are focused on best meeting the needs of patients and customers and communities we serve by creating the right networks of stores in the right locations. Unfortunately, the right location is not in North Minneapolis. We're shutting her down. When faced with the difficult decision to close a particular location, this is corporate speak here, right? Several factors are taken into account, including our existing footprint of stores. How many you got around there? We're going to be okay without having a store in your community. And dynamics of the local market. Is it making money? Do people shop here? Are we able to charge enough to get a profit? And changes in the buying habits of our patients and customers. Are people coming to the store? That's the bottom line, right? That's the bottom line. It's not that hard to figure out. It's really not. And then people are so shocked because they don't pay attention to news for reasonable people. I hate to say it. Nah, it's because, people live in a vacuum and they just, people are in survival mode. They're just trying to go about their day. And then they roll up to their favorite Walmart and they're, what the F is going on here? It's going to close down. Oh, this sucks. And that's how I feel when I roll up to a store. But, and it's an important store that I want to stay open and it's closed. And I'm like, gosh, darn it. That's how I feel like when one of my gyms closed down. They just couldn't do it. Got through the pandemic, open a extra year, couldn't do it. Closed down. Crunch Fitness in Bellevue just closed down. I was really sad about that, even though I never went there. I want the option of going there, right? I've got a membership there. I want to go there. I go from one thing about talking about, people in the lower socioeconomic end not being able to afford, groceries. And then I babble about, gym memberships. So yeah, but it all works together, right? The gym couldn't make it. Walgreens isn't making it. Aldi's isn't making it. Walmart saying no go. And you've got this going on across the United States. And what we're seeing consistently, if you got a bunch of tents, if you got a bunch of homeless, you got a bunch of drug addicts around, if you got a shoplifting going on, because the shoplifting is what feeds the drug problems of the homeless. If you got that going on, that's what we're seeing an epidemic of across the United States right now. We're seeing that right now. And I'm recording all these podcasts because this is the grim reality. So not only do you have retail apocalypse, which is people are buying more stuff online, getting it delivered than they are going. I think of all the products I buy now where I'm like, okay, it's like a Saturday noon. I want to chill out, get into my Saturday evening, which just means whatever ridiculousness I've got going on, but I need to go get it. But I don't have to have it now, but it would be good if I had it by, say, tomorrow. You know what I do now? You probably do the same damn thing. You get on your little phone machine and you look at Amazon and see, hey, I've got Amazon Prime. I could maybe get this here tonight. I could maybe get this here tomorrow morning. Problem solved. My afternoon just freed up about an hour, whatever. Because even if the store is a couple of miles away from me, I got to get in the car. I got to get dressed up. I got to put on my makeup. Got to do my, no, I just throw on a hat. I get to the store, buy my stuff. But even then, parking, going in there, you're going to buy a handful of other stuff, whatever it is. You're going to shop around. I need this in my life. No, you don't. Yeah, I do. It's going to make me feel better. I'm feeling kind of sad. Whatever's going to make you sad. You go in there, you buy some stuff, you go out, you got to get home, traffic on Saturday because everybody's going to the movies or whatever they're doing. And so now you've got that extra hour by shopping on Amazon. And you're like, and then all of a sudden you're like, man, I haven't gone to the store in a while. And that's how we get the retail apocalypse. Hey, I need some more shirts. I'm just going to go on Mizzen and Main online, see what models they've got. Do they have a new Spinnaker collection? Because if they do, I'm their man. Do they have more of the Leeward? They're all sailing terms. No, I just like the material. It's good stuff. So, but even then I could buy those in Nordstrom. They're about the same price. But why do that when I can just get stuff dropped off on my front porch? And then, that applies to stores that are in locations where they've got shenanigans going on because political leadership hasn't figured out a way to deal with homelessness and drug addiction and everything that goes with that, including stealing from the community, including stealing from the store, because in order to get your next fix, you need some money and you might do that. I'm not saying that's happening in North Minneapolis. But guaranteed some of that's happening in there because it's happening everywhere. It's just happening in areas that have greater homelessness and greater levels of drug addiction and mental health care issues and, people going down that road. It doesn't help the community is kind of my bottom line here. So the Walgreens location was also a critical resource for residents of a nearby senior housing development who use the store, not just for medication, but also household essentials. That sucks. and it's probably not their fault because those, people coming from the housing community, they're not out doing the shenanigans that the rest of the folks are, right? So it's not their fault. They're just trying to get by. They're just trying to live their golden years, live their dreams, whatever those are, and make it happen, have a good rest of their life. And they got the effing store closed down. That sucks. All right. That, and the article ends with, that is their outing for the day. And when you take that away, that defeats the entire purpose of the shopping service, of the entire shopping service. Well, the flip side is Walmart, Aldi, and Walgreens would say the entire purpose of us being a business is to make a profit. And I'm not trying to defend corporate profits, but it's reality. And here on News for Reasonable People, we're reasonable. This is what you got. Unfortunately, closed. Brutal. All right. That's it for me. Thanks so much for being here. I will catch up with you in the next one. Bye for now. I have got a trifecta of 3 Walmarts shutting down in Chicago. We're going to watch a little video. We're going to talk about it. I'm going to talk about another YouTuber that I watched a review of, and he gets into the whole Walmart thing. Let's jump on in. Let's see what we've got going. We've got a couple other things we're going to touch on too. We're going to touch on how the media in general is just like, corporate profitability, stores underperforming. And in reality, it's all their profits are going out the front door due to shoplifting, and nobody's saying jack. All right, now let's get into it. Here we go. I would love to have you as a subscriber. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that notification bell. Also, check us out. Check us out on News for Reasonable People. We got the members only section. Got just a bunch of content there. Love to have you check it out. Thanks in advance. Walmart to close Homewood and Plainfield stores, Lincolnwood pickup location. So I've been covering the Walmart thing like there is no tomorrow, right? And why is that? Why are we doing that? We are doing that because the closures of all of these stores, whether it's Walmart, Target, Long's Drugs, any of that, CVS, they're all closing stores. And oftentimes they're closing stores that are least performing, but least performing is basically code word for why is the store not performing? Well, because XYZ percentage of the profits are walking out the front door due to the 5-finger discount. People are stealing from the stores. Organized retail theft. But not one of these stories out there, unless you go to YouTube, not one of these stories are people talking about shoplifting. You're not talking about, robbing the stores. They're not talking about, typical shoplifting. They're not talking about people loading up carts and pushing them out into the parking lot and dumping literally hundreds of dollars worth of merchandise into their car to go sell it and then get their next fix of fentanyl. I mean, that's what you got going on. Walmart is closing 3 locations in the Chicago area. The retail giant says it's shutting down. It's Lincolnwood. Okay, we know that. This decision was not made lightly and was reached only after a thorough review process. Walmart told CBS 2, as this is a pickup and delivery only location, we have taken what we learned from this location. We've made it part of how we operate pickup and delivery from our surrounding stores. After closing Walmart stores in South Suburban Homewood and Far West Suburban Plainfield, which the company said came after a serious review. So they already closed down 2 stores in 2022, right? You're working on 3 more stores. Chicago's going to have, they're going to have a little bit of a Walmart, desert going on. Here's the corporate to nonsense, right? We have nearly 5,000 stores across the U.S. and unfortunately, some do not meet our financial expectations. While our underlying business is strong, these specific stores haven't performed as well as we had hoped, Walmart said. There's no single cause for why a store closes, and Our decision is based on several factors, including historic, current financial performance, and in line with the threshold that guides our strategy to close underperforming locations. I've talked about this before. That is corporate speak for we're shutting the store down, but we're not telling you why. Why aren't they telling you why? Well, because if they did, it might appear a little racist, because a lot of these stores are being closed down in Black neighborhoods, in socioeconomic neighborhoods that, they're not in the white privilege neighborhoods. That's not going on. We're not seeing those store closures. Now, I am working on stories. There's a Walmart store closure, a Supercenter store closure in Florida, in the St. Petersburg area, and I'm working on getting some information there. Like, why is it closing there? It's basically the same reason everywhere, right? You got too much shoplifting going on, and that whole thing, you don't want to stop the shoplifters because they might hurt somebody inside the store. They might hurt your employees. Insurance companies have said, hey, basically just let the shoplifters go. And Walmart's got a little bit of a different protocol with that. But bottom line is we've got a shoplifting epidemic that started up during the pandemic big time, and it hasn't abated. It hasn't gotten better. So you've got this corporate speak on, I don't know how many dozens of stories, but I think, what folks need to know is if you are seeing your community Walmart is very busy, like the parking lot is always closed, and you're looking around, and when you're shopping in there and you're going, why are they shutting this bad boy down? You know why they're shutting that bad boy down, because it's super busy. So the question isn't getting foot traffic in there like it is for a lot of stores in the downtown cores all across America right now, because of that whole work from home, and we're trying to shift back to working in, the office. It's not because of that. You're looking around, you're pushing your cart in Walmart going, what the heck is going on here? This is super busy. Why are they shutting my Walmart down? You know the answer. It's because you're watching people shoplift. You see it go on. You see the cop car in the Walmart parking lot. You know what the deal is. Corporate has, got a list of stores, and they got the top performing ones where you don't have a lot of shoplifting going on. You don't have the organized retail theft at maybe the same levels. I'm not saying organized retail theft. It's everywhere, right? It's everywhere. Because when they get busted enough in a lower socioeconomic neighborhood, where do they go? They go to the ritzy neighborhoods and they try and pull the crap there, right? But it just aren't the opportunities there, because that whole policing thing, and they're going to come after you and they're going to prosecute you, and you're probably going to do some time. So you tend to stick, if you're an organized retail theft, you tend to stick in counties and cities and towns where there's going to be no repercussions. No repercussions. So you got lots of shoplifting, because that's going to fund, a drug addiction, more than likely. Somebody's lifestyle. You're funding somebody's lifestyle. And this is what you got going on. But corporate media is they're whitewashing it for you. That's what they're doing. Because you know what the story is. You live there. You are shopping. You are in that community. And you're like, yeah, there's a lot of shoplifting going on here. But media isn't telling us anything, because they don't want it to appear like they're just only shutting the stores down in the lower socioeconomic areas that impact the BIPOC community the most. But that's the hardcore reality. And I think, somebody needs to say it. And that's what I'm doing. I was watching a podcast, because I'm researching these types of topics. I was watching Kendall Reacts. He's a YouTuber, black dude. I'd say he's, I don't know, late 20s, mid 30s, something like that. It could be older, younger. I don't know. Somewhere in there. He's got a New York Yankees baseball cap. He's got a gold chain, wears a dark shirt. He's got black soundproofing tiles behind him, black and red, and he sits in a red gamer chair. So Kendall Reacts, and his thing was Walmart's closing 269 stores, and his title was because of racism. Now, he wasn't going down the racism road. He was kind of exploring, hey, you guys know what the deal is. When a store isn't profitable, they're going to shut her down. But, and he was saying, hey, your peak numbers came during that whole George Floyd thing. Right after the whole George Floyd thing happened, May of 2020, Shoplifting just skyrocketed, didn't it? A lot of the criminal activity just skyrocketed. It was like a hall pass. And now you are seeing the end result of, okay, you had shoplifting skyrocket. Okay. And shoplifting still going on. Business declines. Corporate says, nope, you're out of here. You're done. Your store is closed. And it leaves the members in the community going, what is going on here? Well, you guys know what's going on. You just need to put that together. You need to go from point A to point B, figure out how you got there, and then you can identify the problem. You know what? That's the part that sucks, because when you identify that problem, you're like, hey, I'm a hardworking individual. I don't make a ton of money. I shop at Walmart, not out of choice, but because it's the most affordable place to go. And yet you're shutting it down. What is going on with this reality? Well, the hardcore reality is that Walmart's got to make a profit for their shareholders. And if they're not doing that, they're going to whack that. They're going to amputate it. It's like that toe with gangrene, right? Whack that bad boy. Yeah, you might limp a little bit, but you're going to keep on going. And, picture 5,000 stores. You got 5,000 toes. You whack 3 off in Chicago. You got 4,797 left, right? 4,997. My math is not, it's not stellar. All right. So here's what corporate Walmart comes up with. We're grateful to the customers who have given us the privilege of serving them at our Homewood, Lincolnwood, and Plainfield locations. Sorry about all the other ones we closed down. We look forward to seeing them at our other stores in the surrounding communities and on Walmart.com. So it's not like they're going out of business entirely. They're just cherry picking the worst locations that have the most shoplifting, that have the greatest loss prevention issues going on. And, so you got some smash and grabs. All right. You got graffiti, you got, all the other stuff that makes it not a great, Walmart shopping experience. And it promotes shoplifting. All right. You got that going on. Maybe that's just part of the community. But the end result of that is Walmart says, we got to whack XYZ percentage of stores. Which ones are we going to go for? We're going to go for the ones where their profits are walking out the front door, shoplifting. And you've got literally hundreds of stores happening that way right now. Okay. I'm going to play a little video for you here because you can kind of get the idea of what I'm talking about. But let's jump on into this video. Shoppers react after Walmart announces closures of 3 suburban stores.
It's kind of crazy. You don't hear of things like Walmart closing. Walmart.
A shocker tonight for suburban shoppers. Walmart announcing it's closing 3 stores.
The stores to be closed are spread across the area from north to south in Lincolnwood, Plainfield, and Homewood. The Homewood announcement is being met with criticism from customers and the mayor.
Elizabeth Matthews is live outside that Homewood Walmart. Elizabeth.
Yeah, that's right, guys. Shoppers are stunned to learn that their Walmart is set to close in just about a month. This one on South Halsted is normally open until 11 p.m. every single night. But now even their store hours are changing. Tonight's closing at 7. Save money, live better. Just not in Homewood, Plainfield, or Lincolnwood.
This is a big hit to the community because, Walmart have great prices, honestly. So I can't believe a Walmart is closed.
But it's happening. This location on South Halsted in Homewood will...
I can't believe a Walmart is closing. Okay. Yeah, I get that. I understand that. You're like, you roll into the store and it's so damn busy. It's like, how could they not be making money? That's the question you got to ask yourself. That's the question that I think a lot of folks who have analyzed this, that maybe have watched a bunch of, videos on this, they get. Hey, it's a shoplifting issue. It's a drug addiction issue. If you got that in your community, unfortunately, this is the end result. Also, when you go from 11 o'clock closing to 7 o'clock, that's also kind of a sign, because that 4-hour window, you got a lot of shoplifting going on there, because those folks need their fix. They need their daily fix, and they're going to come in and they're going to steal stuff for that night, for that night's pills. And that's the drill. That's the hardcore reality you're not seeing in these news stories.
Permanently close next month. The reason, Walmart says, because of poor performance record. It, quote, did not meet Walmart's financial expectations.
It's like they're trying to starve the black neighborhood or something. I don't know what's going on, because it's always crowded. Every time you come up here, the lot is crowded until they close. I mean, so how are you not making money?
Homewood shoppers not buying Walmart's explanation.
How are you not making money? All right. Work that one through. Take that to the next step. Take that to the next level. All right. They got lots of sales going. So where's the problem? Because they're, other stores, other parts of, the community, other parts of the state, other parts of the country, they're going gangbusters. Walmart, it's doing fine. And they say as much in their corporate releases on these closures. So take the next logical step. Why is my Walmart closing down? What's the reason mine's closing down and theirs isn't? Because mine looks super busy. So what's the deal? All right. Profit's going somewhere. It's going somewhere. Just got to work. You got to take that to its logical conclusion, right?
Is it always busy?
It's always busy. It's always busy here. Usually I'd be like, oh, let me hurry up and try to get in and get out.
It's always busy. It's always busy, but they never have nothing.
If you wasn't making money, you'd have been closed.
Homewood Village officials commenting on social media about the area's financial loss regarding the closure. Quote, the Walmart store has been one of Homewood's largest revenue-producing stores for years and services shoppers from various surrounding communities. The mayor says, quote, the village was surprised by this news and will work with the property owner to fill the space as soon as possible.
I think it used to be like a big Kmart, Super Kmart was here, and they closed that down. So I don't know what we supposed to do now.
So what will fill this big void here in Homewood? It's actually way too early to tell, of course, but one shopper we talked to says she's crossing her fingers that an Amazon store comes in. So of the 3 stores, there's a Lincolnwood store that's kind of a pickup delivery store. That's going to close reportedly February 17th. The other 2 stores here in Homewood and the one on Route 59 over in Plainfield, those are set to close by March 10th. What happens to all the employees? We are told that they will be eligible to transfer to other stores. In Homewood tonight, Elizabeth Matthews, Fox 32, Chicago.
Do you see how just conveniently, absolutely nothing was dealt with as far as why those stores were really closing? It's like, okay, corporate profitability, they haven't met our standards. Well, so you need to make money and you're really busy. What's going on? That's that next step. So one of the things that I haven't covered as much is there are a lot of other jobs dependent upon these stores being opened. You've got truckers bringing stuff in, all the supply chain involved in a Walmart store. Those jobs, when you've got just a little bit less business going on right there, all those jobs go away as well. So now you got a big commercial building that's going to sit vacant for a couple of years at least. And this used to be a Kmart, right? Now Kmart doesn't close down unless they're not making money either. So Kmart, couldn't make it. Good run, couldn't make it, guys. Sorry, we'll service you at other locations. Walmart comes in. Walmart, so you got 2 for 2 of major retailers saying, no, we can't do it. It's a no-go here. It's us. It's not you. It's our corporate profitability. You guys have been great shoppers, and we hope to help you shop at our other stores surrounding in the community. Just this one's going to be closed because you guys your community is stealing too much stuff from the store. We're not going to hold it open. Let's just take something I've been doing lately is let's just take a brief look at the comments on the YouTube video, because people are brutal on YouTube comments. You know how I know? Because I get a lot of those comments. John, your head's up your ass. Probably. And they'll tell me why. And it's like, okay, yeah. Somebody hides behind an icon on YouTube and just becomes a, keyboard warrior and just tells you exactly what they think at 2:00 in the morning when they should be asleep, but they're not. To have that, here's the first comment that I thought was amazing. To have that segment aired and the word shoplifting not spoken speaks volumes. That's right. Why aren't we what about transparency? Isn't transparency a big thing right now? Aren't we all supposed to be transparent so that everybody knows what we're thinking, so that we can all, be inclusive and all this stuff? Whereas Walmart's just like, nah, corporate profitability, whack, store, you're fired. And that's literally, you got this this transparency, and then you've got complete lack of transparency. And I get why Walmart is doing that, because they need to cut the cord on their non-performing stores. And unfortunately, they're happening a lot in Black communities. Not just Black communities, lower socioeconomic, wherever you've got a drug problem, right? That's basically everywhere. But you've got some areas, Kensington Avenue, Portland, Oregon areas. And I've covered a lot of this stuff, where you've got Walmart shutting down, and you've got, anything retail you can steal from. A lot of those stores are being shut down right now. We've got the retail apocalypse, which is stuff being sold in stores isn't doing as well as online. And during the whole pandemic, there was a real emphasis put on that because we couldn't shop in a lot of these stores. They were closed down, right? A lot of these stores were closed down. Of course, big corporate stores weren't. Home Depot was open. Yeah. I mean, Costco was open. Yeah, interesting, right? But the little mom and pop stores, those were all shut down, right? Comment number 2. What's amazing is the surprise of the people. They know why Walmart is closing. Okay, fair enough. Those are shots fired. That had 989 likes. 989 likes for a comment on a YouTube video on a news channel. My heart goes out to the shoplifters who have to drive further to find another store to steal blind. Now they will have to steal more to pay for the extra gas. A little bit of backwards talk there. It's true. It's true. This is what's going on, shoplifting. So three for three, right? 3 for 3. In her report, she never even mentioned shoplifting and organized theft. Or 4 for 4. 5, comment 5. This is what happens when you let people shoplift and don't hold them accountable for their crime. It's always the honest, hardworking people that end up paying the price. And that's the bottom line to my story, is that it sucks if this is happening in your community, but be aware of why it's happening, because then you can have some input on your change. Elected officials, who's your district attorney? What's your criminal code look like? Have you taken shoplifting a bunch of stuff from, gross misdemeanor just down to a misdemeanor? Have you done that kind of thing? Because if you have, you've made shoplifting a vocation, and you've made shoplifting very easy for people to fill, their addiction needs. That's what they're doing. Because now these drugs have gotten so cheap that you can go in, steal a bunch of stuff. You're good for the night. It's party time, right? It's party time, because that's a large, these are not crimes of need. Remember when we had crimes of need? I am so famished, I'm going to go steal a sandwich from the store. That's a crime of need. Taking out, 15 pieces of steak out the front, not paying it. That's not a crime of need, because nobody's going to eat that amount of steak. You're going to sell it. You're going to sell it on the sidewalk. We see it all the time. We see news reports all the time in these open air markets, just, blatantly going on. People are selling stuff. Hey, how much for that steak? Yeah, I'd like to get $10 for it. It's $40 steak, that kind of stuff. So I'm surprised Walmart wasn't forced to stay open for the needs of the shoplifters. Yeah. You're living in a whole area when even Walmart closes stores. It's a damn shame for all the decent folk who have to bear this burden because of a lawless element. Yeah, we're 5 for 5, and these are random comments by random people. You must literally live under a rock not to understand or be surprised that Walmart is closing certain stores. So we've got this portrayal by the media of, well, corporate profitability. That's how we spin it. And in reality, your store is being robbed blind. And corporate says, no can do. We're not, what is Walmart supposed to do? If Walmart is bleeding money out because citizens in your community are stealing from it, is it Walmart's obligation to stay open to serve the needs of the community? Hell no. No. Walmart's there to make money. And that's the harsh reality. I'd like to say that this has, there's a better storyline here. Walmart's out for themselves. You know that. They happen to have a business model that affords you to shop, or maybe not shop since your Walmart's getting closed down. And that's why you're watching this video. But, you know, they have a business model that's afforded you good products at a cheap price, right? I mean, that's their whole bottom line. That's the whole bottom line. So if they can't offer that to you and still make money, what are they supposed to do? Are we supposed to have a government intervention that props up this store? Well, who pays for that? You and I, the taxpayers, do. So does that make any sense? No. So businesses are leaving in droves from these areas. Another one you might say, hey, this is Chicago. This is the Midwest. Another story I'm going to read today is a longtime pizza store in Portland that's had 6 locations. They're closing down 4. They're leaving 2 open. And all the stories on that are the same thing. Yeah, we can't really make money. We're streamlining the whole pandemic. You know, you've got these. The bottom line is there aren't enough people out in these areas where it's really rough in Portland. They're not going out and they're not doing this. Now in Portland, on individual stores like that, it's a different deal. It's not the ongoing shoplifting because it's a pizza store, right? But the elements of, you've got graffitied up elements, you got people breaking into stores, you've got shoplifting, you've got organized retail theft in these communities. People don't want to go there, do their shopping, and then go to Hot Lips Pizza in Portland. They're just not doing that. They're not going to these areas. So businesses can't stay open. If they're not making money, then they're done. Nobody's supposed to prop them up. This is we're a capitalist society. If your store isn't making money, you either got to raise the prices to get her there. And that's not what Walmart does. Walmart doesn't have wildly different pricing from store to store, right? Costco is the other really good example of that. You can still go to Hawaii, you can go to Maui, one of the most expensive areas anywhere, and get your $1.50 hot dog and your drink. I mean, it's epic on Hawaii. It's crazy. Walmart said, keep stealing shit and we're going to close. Pretty straightforward. Didn't take too many words to bring that one out, right? What is Douglas Scheutz talking about there? He's talking about back in December, CEO of Walmart in an interview said, hey, the continued shoplifting keeps going. The organized retail theft keeps going. You got 2 options. And this is what Kendall Reacts was talking about. And he said taxes, and I get where he was going, but it's not taxes. It is increase in prices. That's what's going to happen. You're going to have an increase in prices. These are your 2 options, increase in prices or we shut your store down. And that's why you've got all these stores. It's not racism. It's business principles. And unfortunately, this is happening in communities that can least afford to have this impact their stores. I talk about the BIPOC community. It's also the elderly community because oftentimes they're walking or to ride or somebody's helping them get into the store to get their prescriptions. Walmart carries a lot of that. Target carries a lot of that. Walgreens carries a lot of that, whether it's goods or medications or whatever. These are stores that are needed in these communities. And unfortunately, they're going by the wayside left and right because they're located in communities that have homelessness. Oftentimes they got homelessness, not all of them. It's not a fast and hard rule, but when you got homelessness, you got drugs. And when you got drugs, you got addictions. And when you got addictions, you got a need to steal. And when you've got, the need to steal on a daily basis to feed your habit and nobody's putting you in treatment, nobody's arresting you and putting you in jail, then you got a whole bunch of these people doing it in the community. And then there's your sign. And then your store doesn't make enough money and you shut down. Pretty simple stuff, pretty basic stuff. But let's just keep going here for just a scooch, see what else we got going on. That's really going to inconvenience a lot of people who have to find a new place to shoplift. Not a lot of sympathy on YouTube. Got to be honest. Not a lot of sympathy, but they're calling it out, right? They're calling it out. This is what's going on. These people have no accountability and always begging the same people they hate to overlook their BS. Good job, Walmart. Okay. It's always busy, is in quotes, with people walking out the door, not having paid for the stuff they carry out. talking about the 5-finger discount, right? So everybody here is just pointing out the obvious. And even these YouTube folks are like, okay, not even, just, if cities did more to prosecute shoplifters, they would have more stores staying open. Oh, does that make sense? It does. It does. But we're not going in that direction. We have decriminalized drugs. We've decriminalized shoplifting. We've basically said, hey, it's a free for all. Go for it, guys. Here's go for it. Do whatever you need to do. We love you. We want to be inclusive. We want everybody to have a big piece of the pie. And unfortunately, when you've got that kind of attitude, stores are going to close. So that's the hardcore reality. One person says, I don't know what we're supposed to do now. First thing you should do is teach kids not to steal. Got some basic societal guidelines going on here, right? It's so true. You teach your kids not to steal, grow up in a community where everybody's taught their kids not to steal, you're going to have less shoplifting. But that's not what we've got going on, right? It's not going in that direction. We're not headed that way. This attitude that Walmart owes us, so we should steal, has got to stop. Good on Walmart for closing stores in these areas. I don't say good on Walmart. I say, what else would you expect? This is the end result of these actions. There's accountability. And unfortunately, for these communities on a large scale, this is the accountability factor. We're shutting your store down. We're going to give you a bogus answer as to why, but you know why. Just and maybe you'll kind of think of, all right, yeah, okay, that didn't make a lot of sense. We knew shoplifting. The end result is it still sucks. Walmart's closing down in your neighborhood. We're seeing a lot of this. We're seeing, I don't know how many of these corporate stories I'm recording, but it's a lot, because the storyline is the same, which is corporate isn't really saying why, because they don't want to be identified as racist. You got that whole thing going on. But then, everybody else is like, the emperor has no clothes. And the emperor, Walmart corporate is like, it's okay. It's good. It's all good. Shop at our other stores. You lost the store in your community. That sucks. All right. That's it for me. Thanks so much for being here. I will catch up with you on the next one. All right. Thanks again. Bye for now.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the coolest channel on YouTube. But look, make sure y'all smash that like and subscribe to my channel. Look, man, we got these dope videos. We got these godlike woke TikToks today. Hopefully y'all having a good day. Just know, man, if you're going through a tough time, we're going through this thing called life together, people. You never in it by yourself. But look, man, let's hop into this video. Good vibes only. Let's get it.
Souls, the children as we call them, coming into our planet through birth now are the fighters. They are the last reserve. They're coming in at the end days. They're ready to fight. They're psychic. They're strong. And they don't care about dying because they understand they can never die. We misuse those energies by giving them direction. Understand these, there's so much to presuppose, and I'm sure most of you are the same vibe. I can only say that what we call children, these souls now are strong. Some are very bad, some are very good, but none are weak. You must not be weak if you call them forth. And if you call them, protect them, because there is some unison, some harmony, some karma, a dharma that connects you with these souls. That's why they're born to you now. And the fact that you took precedence in life first before their entrance means, again, that they are still supposed to come under your direction for a short time. You can teach in the womb, as I talked to a beautiful sister tonight. But if they take in the venom, the pus, the things that are given in these hospitals and by the doctors in serum inoculation, they lowers the vibration of the blood. If the blood vibration is lowered, the glands and organs function is lowered. The vibration of the entire body is lowered, the immune system is lowered, and you become an animal, a human man. You lose your Godship, you must then strive to re-get it and must spend time that could have been spent better. Now we're trying to recuperate.
Elder explains Akashic records.
Akashic, and it sends to the sun, mother server, which then sends it to the other sun. Everything you're seeing on a microscopic level exists on a macroscopic. So the suns are servers. That's what a sun does. It serves the planets around it, but it also is a server, like a server. So everything on the planets around that sun uploads their information. This is where they even get the idea of stored in the clouds or stored in the heavens from.
Right.
Because nature does that naturally. The planet talks to the sun talks to the planet. So if the planet needs some assistance from the sun, it asks for it and actually send that energy.
And you call that Akashic?
The Akashic record is recorded around a planet or around an entity. It's the energetic record keeping system. They came up with a quote unquote man-made version of that, and they call it the cloud. They're sending it up to their cloud. And they released that in a movie a long time ago. I think it was called Eon Flux or something. It had Charlize Theron in there, where they're telling you they're storing everything in this big dirigible balloon floating at 80,000 feet up in the sky. And it kept all the data. And it ran this future world where everything was based on them knowing everything and recording everything. And the reason they kept it at like 100,000 feet in the sky, so people couldn't get to it. But she figured out as a warrior, and then they figured out how to get to them. So the same idea, but it's based on nature. Nature sends everything to the planet. The planet has an aura. It has an auric field, which we can see when the aurora borealis comes through. You can see that there's an aura around the planet. So everyone who chooses to come here, born here, you can download information from the Akashic record. You also have a record inside of you. Your DNA is a record of all the bloodlines history. You're born into a bloodline. And in that blood is a line of information. Million years or however many years back.
Right.
So they call it blood.
How long does your DNA go back to?
It could go back for billions of years. Wow. So imagine that. That's why I always tell people to have a visual. When I walk with 1 million people behind me, at least. So I'm the tip of the spear. My spear is 1 million deep. So you walk without fear. So I'm never alone. I never go into any battle, any situation, anything by myself. Because literally in science, you cannot be by yourself. If you have 1 million people, at least inside of your DNA, then how can you be by yourself? How can you be lonely?
I'm listening, and the interview has already started, my brother.
Oh,
we're gonna do it just like this. Where you at? The lighting is perfect. Your energy is perfect. All right, brother. Have a good one.
Hey, we'll be in touch. You already know that. You're already in touch.
Look, so when they say, that's why they say do your work, do your spirit work, do all of that stuff, man. Just like we have all this information being passed down, we do have past traumas that are being passed down as well. So that's why it's important. It's not just important for you in this current time to do that work. It's important for you to get all of these things figured out so that you don't pass on these traumas to your kids, because you will be an ancestor at some point, and you don't want the things that you went through to affect our future. You don't know when you'll come back, well, you might. Some of y'all might. But I would say this, it'd be a lot better. It would behoove us to try to understand that we do have the ability to manifest and change the things that are currently happening in our life. It's never over for you. You can always rebound. I've lived in my car. I've lost my house. I've got divorced. I climbed my way back up. I did it. I didn't for 1 second doubt myself or feel bad for myself. I don't make excuses. I make readjustments, and we all can do that. You know what I'm saying? And it's not a color thing, and it's not none of that. It's a people thing on this planet. We have to figure this thing out. But yeah, don't make excuses. Just make readjustments. Real talk. I got that from a rapper. His name is Euros. Pretty dope.
This is why understanding you don't exist and nothing is real makes you God. Time is not real. Let's break down the mental and physical aspects of it. Time, past, present, and future, they are all properties of consciousness, with the past being recollection, the future being anticipation, and now being the present moment. Time is the movement of your thoughts. There's no such thing as a universal clock. This scene in the movie Interstellar shows us how time dilation works. They landed on a planet where the gravitational pull was so strong that every hour they spent there was equivalent to 7 years on Earth.
Damn.
These are photons. This is light. The holographic matrix is inside a light. Your eyes absorb it, and the mind projects the world. If light could be a person, any clock you looked at would never move. Light does not experience time. I'm not trying to scare you. I'm trying to wake you up. Reality is an illusion. This shit is all a dream. Using the interpretation of quantum physics, all matter in the universe is made of atoms. The atoms are made of 99.9999999% empty space. So with that being a fact, you have to question why reality feels so solid. This is because of the basic law of electrostatics. It's this repulsive magnetic force that makes reality feel real and stops your body from collapsing in on itself. And the atoms are made of energy that behave as particles and waves, meaning that particle me is here now, but the wave version of me doesn't exist as a localized point in space and time.
Light beams.
Particles and energy that make up my body exist everywhere in a state of infinite potential. The dust I was before humans and Earth existed, me right now and every other stage of my life, and the pure energy I'm going to turn back into. It exists across the universe as possibility until I open my eyes and turn it into this observable situation, this moment. Let's get on some Matrix shit. This is video game coding. This is information. This is a bunch of shit you don't understand. That's reality, a bunch of energy, information, and potential. Shit we can't understand. We can still play the game because even though this is the game, this is what we see, understand, and operate in. You are the entire universe, but at the same time, the entire universe creates your mind. And it's your mind that you view the universe through. And because you're viewing it through your mind and not as it actually is, you're dreaming. This is an illusion, right? This is the true reality. Emptiness. Your mind creates space and time. Reality is energy, information, possibility, potential. It's not a solid physical thing. Everything, all of us are connected. Everything is one big giant consciousness, an infinite mind. I'm this eyeball, you're that eyeball. We're all just little pieces of it. But the entirety of it is you. You just don't know that. None of the words I'm using to talk to you right now actually mean anything. These are random vibrations that you're assigning concepts and labels to understand me. What I'm trying to say is our existence is true, and your faith in God doesn't have to be rooted in mythology, and you don't have to have blind faith in some deity outside of you.
Right.
Understanding science and psychology, you can dismantle your entire perception of reality and see what's left there when you do that. You are pure consciousness. You are everything in the form of you. Once you do that, you can finally detach from life and detach from yourself. That's the recipe. Once you transcend, all of the power is yours. I'm going to show you how to use it.
They told you to maintain control over your perspective. They told you that the trees they fucking cut down are mountains. That's a perspective grabber right there. Because had they told you as a child, like, they had giant trees, but they got cut down. They could have just told you that, hey, it was giant trees at one time and they all got cut down. So now when you ride and you see them giant tree stumps, you like, oh, them tree stumps. But your perspective is different about the whole fucking life you live. Like, you were like, hold on, it was trees that fucking big? And who the fuck cut them down if they was that big? And what did they use? Your mind runs off with so many questions. So to control your perspective, the mountains, and they come from rock formations in earth. That's a whole different perspective. And then the bushes, the little bushes on your planet, like them trees, them actually trees. So now you like them mountains that never don't exist. And you looking at the bushes of the planet, and you like, oh, them trees. That's big. That's huge. That's huge.
I always wondered about that though too, man. As a child, like that was something that I always looked at instinctively. Like when I seen like mountains and stuff, I was like, damn, that looked like a pyramid. Like as a kid, like damn, that looked like a tree stump, you know, because you can see the way that the pattern is. Like if you cut a log and you can see the internal, you can see that it's like a spiral, right? And that's what the mountains and stuff look like on the top. So I was just always fascinated with that type of stuff. Let me know in the comments down below if you was like that. It's certain things that you just automatically was like, You feel me?
The majority of
His
African
eyes.
Americans that lived here were brought over here.
No.
We're not African American. Look, I hate to pause it again, but we need people to stop addressing us as that, because what they're saying is when you say African American, it's implying that you are on foreign soil and you live here. No, our ancestors was already here, people. So yeah, I gotta stop it before I get any further because I'm tired, bro. Some people are from Africa, but most of us are not. We were already here.
No, that's not economically sound.
What do you mean by it's not economically sound?
So what I'm saying is, people were already here. Does it make sense to go all the way to this other continent to bring people on a boat when we know that half of your stock is going to die? You wouldn't do that.
So how many people do you think were brought over from Africa on slave ships? Because that definitely happened.
I don't believe it.
What do you mean you don't believe it?
I don't believe that story. You think this whole land was empty? No, there were natives here.
Right.
But today we're taught that natives are some other people. No, natives are the melanated African being that has come here since the beginning of the Mali Empire. We're talking about 14th, 13th century. We had already come here from Africa.
Really?
Oh yeah, we had already come here. Maybe people were brought over as slaves, but I don't think that the black people in America came from Africa on slave ships. I believe the people that were here were slowly conquered. First, they got the East Coast, and then they started spreading out west little by little, conquering. And when you conquer a tribe, what do? You enslave them. They're POWs, right?
Okay.
That's what you do.
But I'm still confused. There's a great history of slave ships being brought over from Africa.
History is his story.
Right.
What about my story? Is my story not valid?
But if you do 23andMe from out,
23andMe,
that's
what?
Either way, if you take black people here in America and you do their DNA sample and point back to Africa, what does that say? It says black people in America are Africans. Now, the argument is, were we brought here or were we already here? Did we bring ourselves here or did the white man bring us here? You see, when you say the white man brought us here, what you're doing is you're removing our ability to transport ourselves. You're saying, we didn't know anything about boats. That's what you're trying to tell me. You're trying to tell me that we didn't know that there was a landmass here. Go look at the primary source. You got here, we met black people. When you got the Caribbean, we met black people. You think the Caribbean is right next to America and they weren't in America?
That's interesting.
Does it make any sense? I mean, when you go and you look at real European history, would believe that if they took a bath, that was bad.
Right.
They didn't even want to change their clothes. They thought that dirty was purity.
Right.
When we talk about the Moors going into Spain and into Europe, the stories in the history, our history, says that when we met the so-called Caucasian, he was sleeping in the barn with the animals, and we told him, no, you can't sleep in the barn with animals. We taught them etiquette. We taught them running water. We brought that technology to Europe. Now, if we brought the technology to Europe that saved Europe from the Black Plague, you mean to tell me that if we saved the white race, that we weren't already in America already? When we brought the technology, when Rome was dependent on Africa for food? Remember when the Black Plague hit Rome?
His face.
The cause was one of the officials was stealing the grain that was coming from Africa. So there was famine, hit Rome. If your source of sustenance is from Africa, how are you superior? You're not. You get your food from me. So if you get your food from me, who's more likely to travel this globe? Me, I'm the source of food. And that's the first thing you need to survive on this planet.
I'm telling you, but look, it's not really his fault that he thinks that way. And it's good that he's an open-minded person and he's able to receive information. That's because, the story that we were taught in school, we have to understand, bro, we can't be mad at all these other different cultures and shit because they was taught the same thing. They was in the classrooms with us. They were taught the same things that we were. But y'all know what that does to people mentally, and it's gonna take a time for some people to really like understand what the hell really went on. They can't even prove that they had slave ships. On top of that, they found the fucking piece of little wood, and they said, "Oh, we found a piece of a slave ship." That is wild to me. Do y'all understand how traveling was through sea back in the day? Most of those people died on the way, and then the records when they got here in the United States, they got all these other people. They brought white slaves over here. We showed them how to farm and everything. We went into business. We got messed over with business, y'all. Through the wars, the Gullah Wars, and all of that, we was whooping ass. We won all of that. But the essence of us, man, we're beautiful people. We're people of nature. You know what I'm saying? And we're very intelligent. So, you know what I'm saying? Y'all go out here and do your research and y'all understand what's really going on. Understand what's really going on. Stop listening to this Pan-Africanist BS out here. They have no proof of that. Let them show you some documents. But I'm pretty sure if you do research on yourself, you can see where your people really came from. And you can see that the names of who we really are has been changed through history and manipulated. Slavery wasn't in whips and chains and stuff like that. Slavery was work, people. But look, we're going to move on.
Do we get sick?
The end of the world. Now we need to talk about the end times because we are currently experiencing what you would consider the end of the world. And they've been giving you so much hints about it in movies and television and even video games. And even if you're religious, they've been telling us out the books what time that we're in. And yet people are still worried about this system, the school, their jobs, and just distractions and entertainment. Just a whole bunch of things that do not matter, especially if we're currently in the end times. Now I'm here to tell you what this end of the world prophecy represents. It's not the actual end of the world. The world will always continue on forever. We're going through a shift and we're entering a new age of time. What this means is that this current systematic enslavement way of life is coming to an end. For the past couple hundred years, we've been in a time of enslavement, lies, and deception. Slavery never ended, it just became mental. These slave masters never became good people. They just hid their evilness from you. This is all coming to light now, and this whole way of life is coming to an end. The system will burn down. The end is actually a rebirth into a new world, a world that's completely different.
Wholeness to my soul family and my soul tribe. Are past lives really a part of your past? How does that make sense when time ain't real? Today we're going to talk about past lives, past life regressions, and what they really is. Come on, check it out.
That is my answer to that question. To add on, Judy 215, to bring you to a state of omniscience, right? First and foremost, me personally, I know and experience that there is no past life, right? Everything that we are doing right now is considered a now life. Even if you have a vision or dream or astral travel and you perceive what you're experiencing as a past life, is actually a now life. So what you really have to understand is that you have karma in this life, right? The things that you do and build up negative energy around, build up karma in this life, right? So how is your now life affecting the karma of the other past life versions of you that are technically still existing right now? You don't necessarily, like the guy said, have to really know who you was in the past life. Know who you are right now. You dig what I'm saying? Stop putting so much focus on the past. You dig? We have so many projections of what's coming towards our past. And no, actually, go that. Tap into who you are right now and relinquish yourself for the karmic cycles that you do now, because as you do that, it will release the karmic cycles of your ancestors, of the ones that came before you, of you in those previous incarnations, because you have the awareness that you had a past life now, but now you live. So what you gonna do?
Hopefully y'all enjoyed that video right there. Look, it's very deep, man. Hit on a lot of deep topics, and hopefully y'all can go out here and just do y'all research, man. You should never get mad at somebody else's opinion based on, you need to just go out here and do your research so you can see this information for yourself. Just don't go off of what other people say in their words, and even my words on this channel. Go out here, like, do your genealogy. Like Joe Rogan, when he say, do your 23andMe, look, that shit is trash. It's 0.01% accurate, and the owner of it even said it too as well, you know, during the interview. And we already knew that because you can't trace the DNA like they're trying to do. It is what it is, people. It's all cap. You can send in the dog's DNA and they say, oh yeah, that dog, oh yeah, you're African, you got some European in you. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy. It's just unbelievable. But you can trace back your records, man. Go to the hit up the census bureaus. Go to you know, you can do ancestry.com. No blood work though. You can actually look up the records, some of the census records on there, and get your actual family and where they were at. I know that my family, I know where they were at. Found them already. I just know. I've always known, but now we have the actual like documents to prove it. Where your people are already here, let me know in the comments down below. Where did they come from? And this is really great for everybody. Even if you're European, where did your family come from? That's cool to know for everybody. If you're Asian, where did your family come from? You don't know if you, how do you know they're from China or Japan or Korea or something like that? Just trace them back. It's cool to know where everybody is from and how we evolve as a people. Once we figure out those things, because you know, you got to think about this, man. A lot of information has been hidden about us. You got to think. You know, you notice children don't know their parents, grow up and have all these issues and self-esteem issues, or just, you know, they be fucked up. I'm just gonna say it like that sometimes because they don't know. What do you think us as a people go through when you don't know who you truly are and what you're connected to, who your ancestors were? They want to keep saying that aliens built the pyramids and this and that. It's not that deep. Our ancestors were very technologically advanced. And it's a reason why people don't want us to get back to that. But look, I'm going to end it right there, people. Make sure y'all, hey, update me in the comments down below. What tribe are you from? Where did you come from? What country? But look, I'll see you on the next video. And like I always say, man, spread love because there's too much hate in this world. I love you guys. I'll see you on the next video. And I'm out, though. Bye.
All right, y'all. Quick disclaimer and just a heads up, because I respect you guys and gals' eardrums. This video contains a whole lot of foul language that I've went ahead and muted just in case it offends anybody out there, even though I know folks will still get upset, still get in their feelings. That's something that's out of my control. That's on you. But I had to show this because this woman isn't on the media. She's not an influencer, and she isn't just doing as she's told based on the social climate and cancel culture that we're living in. She's authentic, and I want you to really watch and pay attention at how she destroys the mainstream Trump narrative.
I was a Trump supporter then, and I'm a Trump supporter now. I don't give a who know about it. I don't how you feel about it. I don't give what your political views are and how you feel like he's a racist. I don't give. I heard it before, like when he was president and he was doing like amazing at making the country run the right way, but it was like a crime to admit that he was running the out of this. I'm done with that because I realized that there's a lot of robot, dumb, blind motherfuckers walking around that don't realize what's going on. So now I'm not scared to say that I am a Trump supporter, always going to be a Trump supporter. I don't fuck how you feel about it. I do not give a fuck. Now, I was one of them people too once upon a time. When Kanye was running around with Trump, I could not understand that for the life of me. I'm like, why the would he be running around with Trump? Like, until I start doing my own research, which I keep telling y'all to do. Trump is not the enemy, bro. Trump is actually on the right side of the fence. You is just so blind, y'all don't see what the is really going on, bro. Like most of y'all just watch the news, and that's where y'all get all your information from. No, when he was walking around telling y'all that that's fake news, it is, y'all. It's propaganda to brainwash y'all, bro. Like, I hate that, like, I'm one of these people now because we are the people that sound crazy. Like, oh my God, y'all, this is so damn. I'm gonna just say that if I could go down there and riot for them trying to arrest Trump, I would. I feel like this is your president. Yep. And I'm gonna stick beside him. Donald Trump is my president. I don't fuck who y'all elect. Y'all look at Trump president. Look at Biden. I will put my president up against that sleep any day. Any day. Any day. Wait till y'all realize that Trump was never the problem. Oh my God. It's just that by the time y'all wake up, it'd be too late. Most of the time, I found out it'd be too late. It'd be too late because nobody cracks open a book. Nobody digs deep and really find out what's going on. They just cut the TV on and let the program them. And that's what they believe. That's what they walk around screaming. That's what they stand by. Like, I'm not of this world. Like, that's what I'm starting to realize. Like, I'm one of them people that was sent here for like the greater good. Like, I'm not of this world. I'm nothing like y'all, bro. I'm nothing like you. You know what blows my mind? When 9 times out of 10, when people say they don't like Trump or they don't support Trump, and I be like, why you don't like Trump? Like, tell me honestly why you don't like Trump. The first thing I think of is he's a racist. We all a little racist. Everybody in the world is a little racist. All of us go places and say about the other race. Everybody is a little racist. It's in our DNA. Each and every last one of us. It's in us to stand with your people. Let me tell you something I hear my fiance say all the time. If you walk into a room full of white people and there's one black person, by nature, you're going to go over there and introduce yourself to that black person first because you're going to be like, oh, that's me. If a white person walk in a room full of black people, they're going to naturally zero in on the other white person. We all are a little racist by nature. Come with something else. Yet y'all over here starving and poor and biting us and giving all the money y'all going to work and earning to another country. Make it make sense. That's like me watching my own kids starve in this house, but I'm making sure Becky down the street make sure her kids eat, and making sure the kids around the corner eat, and going up to the school giving out free food, and then coming home and my kids are starving. Make it make sense. Y'all elected that money, so stand beside them. I'm done acting like, well, I'm just gonna fall in line and act like I'm a Trump hater too. I don't give a. Best thing I ever did was went on a spiritual journey, bro, because I done tapped so deep into myself. I don't give a what somebody else think about me. I don't give a. Say that crazy. I don't want nothing to do with her good. I don't want to be around like y'all anyway. I don't want to be around a weak-minded that's just going along with whatever is popular. Get away from me. I'm about to go buy Make America Great Again hat and wear that around because I want all smoke. I want to smoke with whoever. What?
Now, after seeing that, it's obvious and clear as day that she's discovered the truth about Trump. But what I really want to know is the more important thing, has she dove deeper in her spiritual journey and found the truth, the way, the truth, the life, Jesus Christ? That's what I want to know. That's the longevity. That's the important thing that we should be striving for. Has she turned from her wicked ways, repented, and confessed Christ as Lord and Savior? Now, we have to talk about him. The oh so polarizing to some people, Donald J. Trump. Why do so many people despise and create false narratives and propaganda about this man? Like, what are they hiding and so afraid that he's going to expose? I'm talking about the Democrats, the leftists, the liberals, the extreme radical secularists that we see every day flooding our streets. He was friends with all the big names for years before he ran for office in 2016 and then became Big 45. Like, I'm talking about Snoop Dogg, Oprah, P. Diddy. Everyone loved him until he threatened to expose the dirty deeds going on behind the scenes. Like, then they wanted to change their tune and acted like he became a racist overnight, which, come on now. No, I'm not buying it. Trump isn't the problem here. I'm not ever going to get on board, not an iota, with the fake, faulty, no backbone substance in what they're trying to do to this man's life and his family. He's just another human being, just like you, just like I am. You can't put all the blame on this man. Now, I know he's not the solution for the long haul. That is, of course, is and always will be Jesus Christ, my Lord and Savior. But what America needs, outside of the obvious of needing to pursue righteousness in God Almighty, we need some MAGA action. And I know right away, when you say MAGA, I know it's unfortunate, but some people automatically deem you as a bigot, as racist, as, oh, he wants to go back to slave days, to segregation. No. What I'm saying is make America great again. The reason I side with Donald Trump and I stand up for this man is because he's pro-life, he's pro-Second Amendment, he's pro-border control, and I know he is pro-God. Now, has he repented and turned from his sins and confessed Christ as Lord and Savior? I'm not sure. That's between him and the Almighty. But I know he doesn't bash and belittle Christian folks. I know he doesn't bash and belittle people that are walking that righteous path and do have eternal salvation. I know that. So that's why I side with him over these evil, sick and twisted, nasty Democrats. That's why, because we need to stop allowing the promotion of this evil, wicked sin that's on full display in entertainment, in schools, everywhere we look, it seems like. And I don't care how many times they try and frame and arrest this man. Not one bit, because I don't care that he's not perfect, because neither am I. Neither are you. And you need to wipe that speck and get that log out of your own eye, because he's a far better option than any of these people who are running the country now. And he's consistent. He's scrappy. He's brutally honest, which I respect. I like when people dish it to me straight, tell me what I need to hear, not just what I want to hear, and sugarcoat things. I don't need a bunch of fluff. I need the real deal Holyfield. So I think we all need a swift dose of truth in the political landscape, because we've been getting lies and propaganda and a bunch of faulty open-ended promises for decades now. So it was time for something different. I like the fact that he was a businessman, established, didn't get into office to, raise money, because he didn't need money. He came in as a man who built his businesses, built buildings. That's why people in the blue collar world respect him, because he's been there. He knows what it takes to sculpt skyscrapers and homes and all of that, just like his kids know the same thing. Look up Donald Trump Jr. The real truth behind this man, you have to respect his grind, his hustle, and his real world experience, not just dishing out these lies and telling you they're going to take care of you, and then they're just stuffing their pockets behind closed doors, getting rich off other countries, getting rich off the backs of our tax dollars, hard earned. I like that he is completely different. He delivers on what he says he's going to. And I admire the way he always, most importantly, stands firm and fights for American freedom. And I know somebody's going to ask, what do I think about all this arrest, arraignment, charges pressed, all this garbage that's going on? What I really think it is these radical leftists weaponizing the justice system to try and eliminate Big Orange from getting back in the White House. I mean, 136 years in prison. Really? Come on now. They literally stacked 34 charges separately against him when anyone else for the exact same accusations, because you're innocent until proven guilty. I think people, let that go in one ear and out the other. They forget the fact that you have to prove somebody's guilty before you automatically label them as a criminal. So again, accusations. If this was anybody else, all of those 34 charges would be wrapped into one. They'd be bundled up. But no. They're trying to drag the Trump name through the mud even more. I think it's another witch hunt with zero substance. It's a media and political stunt that I don't know what these liberals are smoking, but once the truth comes to light, and if he's found not guilty, which I think he will be, this is going to backfire big time. And the whole leftist agenda is going to crumble right in front of our eyes. And it's going to light a fire to go out and support Trump like never before, for people that were on the fence, for people that were never Trumpers, for people that were already a part of the MAGA movement. This is going to light a fire for them to get behind him even more. He is now the underdog. I think he's now the underdog, or they want him to be the underdog. And if this backfires and he's found not guilty, Trump 2024 is looking like a big time reality that I'll be right there for it. I have to say this at the end of every day, no matter what it is, if it's Donald Trump doing his thing, you doing your thing, me doing my thing, we're all guilty of sin. You can't cover it up and just point the finger at everybody else. We are all filthy, nasty, flawed individuals. None of it's worth it. I promise you, none of the waging of sin, adultery, lying, cheating, stealing, whatever it is, taking the name of the Lord in vain, worshiping these false gods, idolatry, pride, none of it is worth it. So what do? You need to come clean. You need to let go of the lie, release the burden, and change your life forever. You need to change the trajectory from darkness, your path that you're living in, filled with lust, filled with perversion, filled with sin, living in the dark. You need to let that lamp shine. You need to turn to the light. You need to repent, confess Christ as Lord and Savior with your mouth, believe it in your heart, and get baptized in his name. Then go out and be salt and light of the earth. That's the solution. That's the way out of this world when you die and are born again. And in righteousness, and the best part, you have salvation forever. Nobody can take that from you. Nobody can snatch that up. No matter what headline comes out, no matter what anybody says about you in public, no matter what they tweet out, TikTok, none of that stuff they can take from you when you have eternal salvation, and you have that in Jesus Christ, our Lord. So like I just said, I just gave you the blueprint. What are you waiting for? I'm going to share a quick verse, dish out some biblical soul food, and then we can wrap it up and close out the video. So Psalm 1 verses 1 through 6 says, Blessed is the man who walks not in the counsel of the wicked, nor stands in the way of sinners, nor sits in the seat of scoffers, but his delight is in the law of the Lord. And on his law he meditates day and night. He is like a tree planted by streams of water that yields its fruit in its season, and its leaf does not wither. In all that he does, he prospers. The wicked are not so, but are like chaff that the wind drives away. Therefore, the wicked will not stand in judgment, nor sinners in the congregation of the righteous. For the Lord knows the way of the righteous, but the way of the wicked will perish. Dive into that Bible, study, get to know, and start living the basic instructions before leaving earth. Because if you don't, hell is waiting for you. You don't want that. I know Satan tries to lure you in, but you can easily say no. Satan can't make you do anything. He's the father of lies and wicked since the beginning of time. But you don't have to listen to him. There's always another path. God gives you the way to the righteous path. He gives you the way to the wicked. He lets you choose. He gave you free will, but it's up to you which one you go down. But that's up to you. I know where I'm going. I know where I put my eggs in the basket of, and it ain't in the basket of man. It's not in the basket of my will. It's in the basket of God and his will. But that's all I got for today. Let me know what you think down below in the comments section. Let's keep this conversation rolling. Are you voting for Trump in 2024? Do you think he's going to be found guilty? All of your thoughts, drop those down below in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to smash that like button. Subscribe if you're not already. Ring the notification bell so you get notified anytime I post a video. If you want to show a little extra love and support, you can always get awesome designs like this. Pray when you see me rocking, made by my beautiful wife over at her Etsy store. She's got a bunch of different Christian American designs, petite, small sizes to big and hefty 5X for the clothing. She has insulated tumblers available. Go check out the link in the description. As always, it's always down there. We appreciate it. Outside of that, shout out to my Patreon and Buy Me a Coffee members. I love y'all. I appreciate you putting your hard-earned dollars behind me and allowing me to, if YouTube doesn't allow me to monetize, you guys are right there in full support, standing firm with me as we fight this cancel culture, as we fight this anti-Judeo-Christian value culture. We stand firm in God's word and we stand on the truth. That's what we do over here. We're conservative, but we are Christian most importantly. You can look right, you can look left all day, but if your focus isn't up, then you got the wrong priorities, my friend. So I pray for y'all. I pray for this entire world. I ask that you do the same for me and mine. Until next time, I love you. Godspeed. I'm gone.
Continuing with political news, the U.S. Department of Defense shaken over the weekend by a leak of classified documents and intelligence on social media sites like Twitter and Discord. The leak detailing Ukraine's progress in its war with Russia, as well as revelations about U.S. intelligence gathering on its allies. Here with more, we've got Yahoo Finance's Rick Newman. Rick, what do we know about this leak?
Pretty disturbing if it's true. So this seems to have revealed what American policymakers think some of Ukraine's vulnerabilities are. So, for example, they are running very short of air defenses, and the way that Russia might be able to use that type of information is they might be able to say, well, we thought they were a little bit vulnerable in air defense. Maybe let's find out. So maybe start using fighter jets and other types of aircraft more to see if that's an actual vulnerability. There were several revelations about allied nations. One of them was about South Korea. Ukraine is trying to get artillery ammunition from South Korea, which manufactures a lot of that, and Ukraine is short of artillery ammunition. And this report detailed the political concerns and how touchy this is as a political issue inside South Korea. So that is not the type of thing that U.S. allies typically want publicized all over the world. So it tells you that Korea is basically on the fence. Maybe they were going to try to secretly supply some ammunition to Ukraine, and maybe they will not do that now because it's not secret anymore. A big question here is, how does everybody use this information going forward? So a lot of this is probably stuff that Russia should have known and may have known. So is it going to change anything about Russia's approach to the war? Who knows? Is it going to change anything about Ukraine's approach to the war? Is it possible they could try to use the fact that this information is out there to go in a different direction and effectively use it as a feint? As with all things involving intelligence, it's kind of a hall of mirrors. You don't know how much of it is 100% accurate. Some of it seems to be inaccurate. You don't know if any of this information is planted to be disinformation. and you don't know what other information you don't know. So this gives us an intriguing glimpse into the American view of how Ukraine is doing in the war. But everybody has to remember there's a lot we don't know.
All right, we don't know what we don't know. Rick Newman, thanks so much. It's really true at the end of the day. So we'll see how either of these sides use that data. Thanks so much, Rick.
Unveiled the world's first digital currency from a major power. Currency that would not be printed, but would exist only in cyberspace on your phone, for example. Is the Fed working on a digital dollar?
We are actually evaluating that. Most major countries are now looking at the possibility of having a digital currency and really asking the question.
Imagine a government that creates money that has an expiration date. And if you don't use it, it'll disappear. That's happening already with the digital yuan, and Americans are rightfully skeptical.
President Biden issued an executive order to explore the creation of a U.S. central bank digital currency, effectively convert dollar into a centralized digital currency.
The Federal Reserve just announced that it's about to show us its new digital payment system this year in July. This is having a huge ripple effect across the entire internet because the US dollar is in the process of being replaced by a central bank digital currency, or a CBDC. In fact, most countries around the world are creating their own right now.
What if I told you 90% now of the world's central banks say they're investigating central bank digital coins?
According to a report by Citi, by 2030, there will be up to 5 trillion digital dollars circulating the global economy. But there's a problem, because most Americans don't trust the government to do this. In the 1950s, for example, the era that was called the golden age of capitalism, when we had unprecedented economic growth and higher wages, a point in history far from perfect, but in 1958, Pew Research asked the American people if they trusted the US government to do what was in their best interest. And they did. That trust reached a peak of 77% by 1964. But over time, that trust has been gradually eroding, and today, that number has dropped all the way to 20. Only 1 out of 5 Americans trust the government to do this. And it's also why people like to use other forms of money like cash and even cryptocurrency. But right now, the government has their own idea for a CBDC, central bank digital currency. And this will have a huge consequence, not only on ideas like privacy, freedom, but even Bitcoin. So in today's video, I want to help explain exactly what this is, how this might work, and how this will ultimately affect us. So with that said, let's get right into it. Hi, my name is Andre Jick. Hope you're doing well. Come for the finance and stay for the new Fed payment system and CBDCs. Now, the two are somewhat connected, but they're not the same, even though people are confusing them as one.
It's a whole new system that's faster and better than traditional banking. You can go to a grocery store and buy a few items with your hard-earned money, and then you present your Fed card with a trusty Federal Reserve representative. And they'll say, oh, yeah, you're too fat, so you can't buy any of these things. The end.
Yeah, so that's not at all how it works. Here's how it actually works. This new payment system will make it so that businesses and people will be able to send and receive instant payments 24 hours a day and 7 days a week, and that's because funds will settle between banks in real time and will only just take seconds. Here's a couple examples of how this will be used in practice. Let's say you're a coffee shop owner and you needed a quick delivery of some coffee beans. Once you got a request of payment from your supplier, you would pay through a participating bank like your credit union, and the coffee beans supplier would instantly receive your payment. On the back end of things, your credit union would send an ISO 20022, which is a digital form to the FedNow service, which would validate it and send a message to the coffee beans bank. That receiving bank would then confirm in real time that it could receive the payment, and the FedNow service would then debit and credit the money and then send a message to both banks that the settlement was completed. Now, that whole process, which sounds insanely complicated, would happen pretty much instantaneously. But the system we have right now just takes a lot more banks, time, and a lot more money. And the service will eventually apply to bill pay and for sending money from one account to another. This will be super helpful if, for example, you have a utility bill that's due on that same day and you want to pay it right away without paying late penalty fees. Now, eventually the Fed will want us to use it for peer-to-peer transactions so we can send money to each other in the same way that we use Venmo or Apple Pay. For now, though, this service will only be made available to people within the United States, so you won't be able to send money instantaneously overseas. Now, this will be rolled out in phases starting in July, but already in the first week of April, they're giving out formal certifications for their quote participants. So that is the FedNow payment system, which is tied to the CBDC, the central bank digital currency. So let me explain what that is. But first, a quick word from today's sponsor. Inflation and the declining economy are extremely stressful, especially for families. In 2021, when an investment fraud was committed, the average left amount was $70,811. That's why it's so important to protect yourself online, and why I'm so excited about today's sponsor, Aura. Aura protects you and your assets by keeping an eye on your accounts, loans, home title, and investments to identify fraud and unauthorized charges. They alert you if they detect changes to your credit profile, and they help you proactively lock your credit to keep anyone from opening accounts or getting loans using your personal information. It's also a VPN service, so you can safely and privately browse the web, and they monitor the dark web for anything that might expose your emails, passwords, social security numbers, and each and every plan comes with a $1 million identity theft insurance. If you sign up right now, Aura will give you a free 2-week trial using my link, and you'll be absolutely shocked just to see how much personal information Aura will uncover in just those 2 weeks alone. Go to aura.com/JIKH to start your free trial now, or you could just click the link below in the description. Thank you, Aura, for sponsoring this portion of the video, and now let's get back to it. Right now, we're seeing the creation of these central bank digital currencies happening all over the world. 11 countries have already launched their own digital currency, including the Bahamas with their sand dollar, Jamaica, and Nigeria. 18 countries are in the testing phase, 32 countries are developing their own right now, 39 are trying to figure it all out and researching, only 15 are inactive and 2 are canceled. But all in all, 114 countries representing 95% of the world's GDP are in some way involved with this process, including the US. Now, the obvious question is, why is the Federal Reserve so focused on digitizing dollars if the dollar is already digital and it's already on our phone? The answer is, there's a huge difference between true digital currency and the system we have today, because our current monetary system relies more on digital claims of currency. This is why when we use banks and we transfer from one account to another, or we use apps like Zelle and Venmo and Apple Pay, we're actually sending digital IOUs and digital claims to money, but not necessarily the money itself. And that's why banks need to use third-party banks to verify transactions to make sure that the money we are sending exists there in the first place. And a true digital currency would be true value transferred from A to B without the use of a bunch of third-party banks. All of this is starting to sound kind of like the things crypto is already trying to solve, except there's a couple huge differences. CBDCs are controlled through a private network by the government, so they're not decentralized, and that gives the government full control over its supply and how quickly they can move it from point A to point B. And with that, there's a lot of pros and a lot of cons. Now, there's a ton of opinions on this subject, so I'm going to save mine toward the end of the video if you want to see that. But if the government creates their own CBDC, here's what that would allow them to do that's good and not so good. A central bank digital currency would give the Fed direct control over the supply of money, which is actually good, because right now they already do this with something called quantitative easing. We saw this during the pandemic when they flooded the economy with money by buying mortgage-backed securities and treasury bonds. But it can also shrink the supply of money through quantitative tightening, which is the same process but in reverse, by selling off their assets, which is what they're doing now, with the exception of this anomaly, which represents all of those failed bank bailouts. The point is this: our financial system is so complicated that it almost works like a Rube Goldberg machine, if you've ever seen those. So think of this new central bank digital currency system as financial enslavement, but with less steps. If I disappear, it was not by magic. Another benefit is speed. Because money will be programmable, it would hypothetically stabilize the value of the dollar, and it would modernize the banks. It would also make sending money and stimulus by the government much faster, and in theory lower the cost of banking, because it would force the banks to compete with the Fed to make transfers and even ATM machines much cheaper. A CBDC would also help with tax revenues, because most people wouldn't have to file their taxes. Instead, the government would know exactly how much money we've made, so they would send us an invoice and we would just have to pay. So it sounds like a lot of really great benefits, but unfortunately, there's a lot of downsides and a lot of risks.
So what the central bank digital currency is all about is surveilling Americans and controlling behavior of Americans. And how do we know? Because we've seen this happen in other parts of the world.
People are calling the concept of CBDCs as Big Brother's digital dollar. And it makes sense why people are skeptical, because CBDCs will be tied to your unique digital ID that'll be used to build your social proof, which all sounds exactly like the next plot of a Black Mirror episode. If the government wanted, they could freeze your assets, and if they don't like what you're spending, With the flick of a switch, your bank account now shows zero.
Mr. President, the Blemflart's value just dropped to nothing.
What do you mean?
I mean, our single centralized galactic currency just went from being worth 1 of itself to 0 of itself.
Oh, dear God, no. Calm down, people. Deploy the galactic militia and declare martial law.
Yes, sir. What should I pay them with? Their payment is the honor they'll feel to serve their... Wait, who's paying me to yell at this guy?
Give me your jacket! Give me those pants!
The creation of a CBDC would give them the technological power to do exactly that. If the government wanted to encourage spending, they could airdrop some dollars in our bank accounts instantaneously, which sounds nice. But if they want to discourage saving, with the flick of a switch, the money could have an expiration date, which is exactly what China did to encourage spending. Now, if all of this stuff sounds like a conspiracy theory, you don't have to look at China for that to happen, because all governments can abuse power, including the US. Because on April 5th, 1933, this happened. This was a decree issued by Franklin Roosevelt, which gave US citizens 1 month to give up their claims to gold, including coins, bullion, and certificates. Everything was confiscated and had to be returned back to the Federal Reserve. But that's not even the crazy part. The crazy part is the people that did not agree to do this faced 10 years in prison and up to $10,000 per year in fines. Now, just for context, back in 1933, that $10,000 represented over 3 times what the average person made in a single year. So that would be like if today the government told us to turn in all our cash or risk being fined over $180,000 per year. Now, you might be thinking the government would never repeat the same mistake from 1933. And you might be right, but you don't have to look very far in history to look for clues on abuse of power. Between 2010 and 2012, the IRS prioritized conservatives and eventually apologized for unfairly targeting them for tax evasion. This naturally happens when power has an agenda and the technological ability to actually enforce it. So the question we have to ask ourselves is it worth the risk? So here's my personal opinion. Let me just channel my inner Warren Buffett for just a second, because even though it's 2023, it's starting to feel a lot more like 1984. You know what I mean? No, you wouldn't, because it's just like me, a really old reference. So I'm not trying to convince anyone of anything, because I don't know if I fully understand this stuff myself, because it is so complicated. But from my point of view, I don't think this is a fight against cryptocurrencies or Bitcoin. I don't think the government cares. Nor do I think this is a fight against consumers. And I don't think consumers care. When was the last time you got a Venmo payment from a friend and thought, this better settle now? Said no one ever. If anything, this is about commerce on a global scale. This is the way for the Federal Reserve to combine what the government is good at, which is trust in its currency system, something it had a lot more of in the past, and combining it with the innovation from the private banking sector. Because hopefully by combining the two, they can create an innovative financial product that allows the US to stay ahead on the global stage. The byproduct of which happens to be full control. But it's also not a tool that the government needed to add to its toolbox. It's got plenty of those. But still, regardless of how much people oppose the idea of CBDCs, I think they're inevitable. As countries around the world launch their own, the US won't want to be left behind. Even the World Economic Forum have told us that if the central banks don't innovate, they'll be left behind and lose the idea of money and trust and, quote, control. So it makes sense why they have to innovate. But does that mean you should sell your dollars and buy some Bitcoin? Probably not. I don't think it's going to be that bad. But I still am just a little bit as a hedge. And that's just me. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Smash the like button, subscribe if you haven't already. Don't forget to grab your free stocks. Links are down below, and then go track them automatically with the spreadsheet link down below in my Patreon. Love you. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'll see you back here on Monday, Friday, sometimes a Wednesday. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Welcome back to Live Now from Fox as we take a live look outside there. That is Washington, D.C. And for the next story, we're going to move over to the White House, but staying in there. Washington, D.C. area, obviously there could be some international moves that could threaten the U.S. dollar. Edward Lawrence with Fox Business joins us live to talk money. In this case, talking about U.S. money and the dominance the dollar has held for quite some time. We could see some changes there. Edward, good morning to you. Who or what is threatening the dominance of the dollar?
Yeah, good morning, Zach. What we're talking about is China. China is chipping away now at the U.S. dollar, trying to replace the U.S. dollar with the yuan. Now, in the near term, experts are saying that's not going to be a problem. But China always thinks 10, 20, 30 years out. And that is where folks are sort of some folks are sounding the alarm right now about the moves that China's making. I mean, you've already got China in negotiations now with Saudi Arabia to use the yuan, the Chinese currency, for deals in oil between the two countries. China's already got an agreement with Brazil to do all of their trade between those two countries, either in Chinese currency or the Brazilian currency. You could run down the list. Even today, Zach, I point out that Emmanuel Macron, the French president, is in Beijing meeting with the Chinese president. They're talking about Ukraine, but they are also talking about trade. And from the Chinese side of that, part of the conversation is doing trade transactions with the European Union in the Chinese currency. So it's a slow chip away at the U.S. dollar, and that's where some folks believe the U.S. should be concerned.
So how exactly would this impact the normal everyday person in the United States and our economy? What would be the impact of this?
Yeah, the impact would just be, we're talking about economic dominance around the globe. Right now, the U.S. is the number one economic dominant superpower around the world. China's trying to supplant that. And so that's what where China's going after the United States economically. And that is something that could affect everyday Americans down the road. If the U.S. currency is not the global standard around the world, it could move more up and down. It could become more volatile, as well as as far as the stable coin that we're dealing with right now. So the issues are really long term, not today, but it's something that some people are sounding the alarms about.
And right, so this is something that could possibly happen, and obviously something important and something to keep an eye on here. If this does start to happen, that the U.S. is not used as a reserve currency for these deals around the globe, is this going to maybe start potentially kind of a trickle effect? We're going to see more countries like, hey, well, maybe we can use a different currency and save a few bucks here. Is that a concern?
Yeah, and that's what China's trying to do. You get one country to fall, then another country, then another, and it's sort of a domino. And by the time that lawmakers in the U.S. look up, all of a sudden you've got half the world that's not using U.S. dollars for transactions. And so that is something that the U.S. has to counter. We've heard from someone at the Heritage Foundation, Peter St. Orange, was telling Fox Business the other day that what they have to do is recognize that China's doing this and then make moves around that. Talk to those countries that China's talking to. The Brazilian president was here at the White House last month, and that's something that the Heritage Foundation believes the president should have been talking with him about, not to make transactions like this. Using the U.S. dollar creates stability around the globe, not just for the dollar, but for those transactions, because other countries can be secure in the fact that the dollar is backed up by the faith of the federal government here. So, this is a concern. As one falls, another falls, another falls, another falls. That's where the concern lies.
In order to counter this, like you had just mentioned, it sounds like diplomacy is a big piece of this, just trying to establish relationships, talking to people, and maintain those relationships and hope the U.S. dollar doesn't lose its place as a reserve currency. Does that sound right to you?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And if you make these moves now, if you make these connections now, to talk to other governments, to talk to other companies. I mean, for example, in France, for the very first time last month, a French energy company did the first liquefied natural gas transaction with China in Chinese yuan, not the U.S. dollar. So around the globe, that has been the standard. But yes, you have the State Department, you have the Treasury Secretary going out talking to these folks and saying, look, this is why the U.S. dollar should remain your full faith and credit, remain the standard currency around the globe. And some folks are saying you go in behind what China's trying to do and sort of secure or level the field and reassure those folks that the dollar is not going anywhere, that the dollar is the most stable, and the dollar is what every transaction should be based on.
And the U.S. dollar has been dominated across the globe for decades upon decades. It's going to be very interesting to see where this all goes. Edward Lawrence, thanks for joining us this morning, but I want to turn it over to you. This is a very complex issue. Is there anything we didn't touch on that maybe you want to add before I let you go?
Yeah, no, it is a really complex issue around the globe. But, we're not talking about next year, the year after that. The Chinese have a 20, 30-year plan, and this is the beginning parts of that plan, according to some economists and watchers that are looking at this. And you're seeing the first chips fall right now So actions need to be taken now in order to stop the last part of this plan from succeeding.
Absolutely. We'll keep an eye on it. You'll keep an eye on it, certainly, and we'll see where it all goes. Edward Lawrence, Fox Business, joining us this morning from the White House live. Thank you so much. Take care.
Yeah, thanks, Zach.
Foundation economist and Substack columnist Peter St. Onge joins me now. Peter, explain this to me like I'm 11 years old. Why should I be worried?
Yeah, well, that was a great summary, Jesse. And, really one of the driving goals of our foreign policy for decades now has been protecting the US dollar. And at this point, this administration is throwing that away. And the reason that matters for regular people, not only does that erode our influence in the world, it's bad for our economy. It takes away some of the advantages that we have. But this is something where if the abandonment of the dollar takes off, for 80 years now, we have flooded the world with US dollars. They've kept hold of them. That's been fantastic because they give them useful things. They give us toasters and cars and copper mines for those dollars. Now, the problem is if we throw that away, all of those dollars come flooding back into America. That means we have way too many dollars. We have a word for that, which is inflation. So we could see enormous inflation, and that's at a time when our banks are already wobbling.
So what can Joe Biden do about this right now? Because it seems like the entire world is conspiring against us and the dollar.
Yeah, there's two things. One of them we have been trying to get him to do for a long time, which is cut the spending. The inflation right now for the past, year and a half, Americans have been suffering, highest inflation in 50 years because of all the government spending. Forget raising, interest rates, forget all these shenanigans with the banks, cut the spending. Number two is we need to learn to mind our own business. Other countries have their way of doing things. If we go in there and we start dictating social policy, they start to get scared. And what happened after Russia went into Ukraine is we seized the assets of the Russian central bank. Those were the dollars that they were holding. We did not even do that during the Soviet Union. We had proxy wars going on all over the world, and we didn't even do that. This administration is just absolutely reckless. That sends a message to every country in the world that if you get on the wrong side of our LGBT policies, who knows, you guys might be next.
So we're printing and spending too much, and we're starting wars all over the place. And that's basically the chickens are going to come home to roost?
That is the fear. And, there are trillions upon trillions of dollars that foreigners are holding on to. If you're a rich Mexican, you don't trust your currency. I understand why. You're not keeping your life savings in Mexican pesos, right? You're just keeping enough for a couple months. No, your life savings are in dollars today. But if that goes under threat, if countries start getting rid of dollars, Japanese banks all, start selling off the dollars because we're losing value, that could turn into a flood. All of that money, they sell it. Where does it go? It's got nowhere else to go. It comes back to America. What does that mean? It means your dollar would massively erode. We're talking much more than even what happened in the 1970s, certainly a lot more than what happened over the past year.
Okay. Well, that gives me something to chew on. Thank you very much.
There you go. Always something to look forward to.
All right. We appreciate your analysis again.
Thank you, Jesse.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.
Religion, sex.
Cleveland Fed President Loretta Mester said that she sees interest rates moving above 5% and staying at those levels for some time as the Fed fights inflation. Now let's get reaction on Wall Street and check in with Miller Tabak Managing Director and equity strategist Matt Milley and the Macro Compass founder and CEO Alfonso Pecatiello. Guys, you've been listening to us talk about the latest labor data this morning, and Alf, let me throw this to you. We've done multiple segments, both on the live show here and also in webinars. Your view of the macro picture here is that it has deteriorated, and it's put us on course for a recession. When and what is causing you to see this?
Jared, I expect a recession to start in the US in late Q2, so let's say late June, midsummer, basically. And the recession happens when unemployment rate starts going up 40 to 50 basis points from its lows, and earnings start to become negative on a year-on-year basis. We have already negative earnings growth. We are trending there pretty rapidly. When it comes to unemployment rate, we're still at the lows, but labor supply is coming back. We have signs that that is happening. And at the same time, we're seeing demand for labor across various gauges actually slowing down. It's the construction sector, which is very weirdly still holding on. I think it's due to labor hoarding, but I guess given the frozen real estate market, there of time. Stuff.
Question to you, Matt. It's been tough to gauge exactly when we'll enter into it. And then additionally, what the severity would be in terms of the pass-through to the employment situation, even as we were laying out some of the numbers a moment ago.
Yeah, it's interesting. Alfonso's comments, I agree wholeheartedly with those. When is it going to start? It's always hard to know. And of course, the Fed or anybody else, the government will tell us that we're officially in one long after we're already in it. And in some cases, they don't tell us until after we're already getting out of it. So that's the one thing we have to make sure that we realize. They'll always tell us, oh, we could have a soft landing, until we're already in the hard landing. And this whole thing with the employment, we've seen those issues with the layoffs. It started last summer in the tech area. It started, and it became more. And suddenly companies were doubling down on that. We had tech companies who are now going through their second and even third round of layoffs. But now we're starting to see it spread to McDonald's, and Pepsi, some of these other companies. And just what Alfonso was talking about in the construction area, the ABI data, which measures what, it's a measurement of new, it is basically of what the designers, what kind of new projects they're coming. That's dropped below 50 in each of the last 5 months. That tells you the construction is going to wind down, and that employment that Alfonso was talking about is also going to come down. And so I do think we're headed for a hard landing. And it's, at some point, the stock market has got to wake up to that, because every single recession since World War II has pretty significant decline in earnings, and that's not good for a stock market it's fairly expensive right now.
Alfonso, Alf, what are your expectations for earnings season coming up? Have we seen the necessary revisions lower that you think might occur? And just in line with our talk about the industrial slowdown, the earnings cycle kind of slows down hand in hand with that. So your thoughts on all of that?
So I think analysts are still in la-la land, Jared. They're expecting earnings to grow low single digits this year. There's a lot of dispersions across sectors, but I think that's wrong. I expect earnings to drop 15 to 20% from where we stand today. It seems like a big number, but it's just consistent with an average recession, which we have seen in the last 50 years, as Matt was saying. It always sees earnings coming down. The median earnings decline from, let's say, peak to trough is about 29% during a recession. Calling for 20%, it's a big earnings decline, but it's not anything we haven't seen before already. Adding to that, Jared, because you asked about whether the consensus is there yet. Well, let me tell you some anecdotal evidence from FinTwit, from Twitter. I was just checking what's trending in my feed, and the following is trending. Bullish, Dogecoin, altcoin season, gold, and so on and so forth. So that is not necessarily a sign of sentiment amongst retail investors being very negative. Bear markets have two legs. The first is a repricing of valuations. That's what we have seen in 2022. The second is a comeback to reality when it comes to earnings and pessimism about future growth. We haven't seen anything like that yet, I'm afraid.
So just to follow on that, do you believe that CEOs are being overly optimistic right now, Alf?
Well, if you look at what CEOs are thinking and look at insider activity, actually they're not very positive overall, right? We have seen a bit of insider selling of late. If you look at the Philly Fed survey, for instance, which is a survey that asks 125 CEOs, what do they think about future economic growth? The answer isn't great. So rather than about CEOs themselves, I'm afraid it's investors. The other thing that matters a lot in equity markets drawdowns and in the second leg of a bear market drawdown is that actual selling happens. Selling from real money investors, from retail investors, from long-only investors. We haven't seen a capitulation of those at all. We have seen hedge funds degrossing. We have seen them being stopped out and taking risk off the table. But we haven't seen the real money guys getting out of the game yet because they're scared. We haven't seen that yet. And I'm afraid that's the part which is missing together with dropping earnings.
Matt, I'll throw the earnings question to you. What are you expecting this season? You can take a macro perspective or individual names and sectors.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, as I've said, the top-down, the bottoms-up estimates are still way too high. A lot of the top-down players are looking for, down to 200 on the S&P 500, $200 that is on the S&P 500. That's and that's 10%. And so if we're looking at 15 to 20% that Alpha's talking about, obviously you come in lower than that. And I'm sorry, but 18 times earnings is not something we have unless you're getting outsized, zero interest rates or outsized QE programs. Without that added liquidity, the accommodation, those fundamental values are going to have to come down. We got to look at 15 to 16 times earnings. I talked about what happens for every bear market or every recession since World War II. Well, every bear market since World War II has seen valuations drop to below 15 times earnings. And if earnings are going to have to come down, obviously we've got further to fall. I don't want to say, cry fire in a crowded theater, and I'm not trying to do that. We're not repeating 2008. But we asked about what CEOs or CFOs are doing. I mean, look at what Jamie Dimon did in 2016. We had problems with, people were concerned about banks and stuff. And what did he do? He came in and he bought $25 million of his own stock with his own money, not a company buyback. Okay, and the stock market bottomed and took off for the next 18 months. This time around, he's warning about that the banking crisis is going to be more of an issue. Again, this is not 2008 all over again. But when you got one of the most important and powerful business people in the world who's not doing what he did at a bottom, he's still giving us warnings. It's something that I think people need to be careful about. And I still think they need to be raising a little bit of cash here so they can take advantage of when the next downturn comes.
Interesting. And so within those warnings, Alfonso, just lastly, while we have you, we've been trying to, and perhaps a little bit of this is PTSD coming off of the end of the second quarter or the end of the first quarter and the banking crisis that ensued and the turmoil that really caught all of our attention because of the broad ranging implications and because of how that also showed up in Jamie Dimon's letter, the annual shareholder letter. And so within all of that, what is the potential for a Q2 surprise or even an April surprise that the markets haven't yet seen and that they're not prepared for? And to what extent could that be non-US focused? What extent could that even be China, which I know that you have a lot of thoughts on as well?
Well, look, that's a very valid question because the US is getting a lot of attention when it comes to potential credit crisis, right? And I think people have mistaken a liquidity event in the banking sector, which the Fed can backstop with the credit crisis. The Fed cannot backstop. I mean, the banking sector has troubles that the Fed can't solve when there is a credit event. So in 2008, house prices were falling. The banking sector is highly exposed to the housing market. The Federal Reserve cannot backstop the value of the collateral behind the loans, which is house prices, offices prices. They can't backstop that, but they can backstop the value of treasuries as collateral, which they did. So it's important not to confuse the liquidity crisis, which the Fed can always try and backstop, with the credit crisis. But you're right that a lot of attention is being given to the US. And people are now expecting, if you look at the Bank of America Fund Manager Survey, that the next credit event, systemic credit event, will happen. It's high up on the list of tail risks that fund managers are looking at. I think we have gotten a bit maybe too complacent about a couple of things. The first is, it's true that the real estate market has had quite some excesses over the last 10 years, But not only the US one has had. I mean, look at Europe as well. Look at places like Sweden or the UK. In the UK, we're looking at millions of mortgages to be refinanced at rates which are much, much higher than the ones that were there 5 years ago. And there are some countries as well, Canada, that have a much higher household debt and a much higher embedded leverage than the US has. This goes to show that if the real estate is the sector that might have a problem, it's not necessarily the US, which is going to see a credit event first, but there are many other places where in the last 10 years, zero interest rates or negative interest rates, QE, low vol, and so on and so forth have generated quite some excessive speculative behavior. And it's not only about the US. I mean, people need to have a global macro approach. Never like now. I think having a look at what happens around the world and not only in the US is paramount important for portfolio allocations.
Gentlemen, thank you both this morning for joining us and for some great analysis and insights and perhaps a little bit of a vision into what we should be keeping a close eye on going forward. Miller Tabak, Managing Director and Equity Strategist, Matt Maley, and the Macro Compass founder and CEO, Alfonso Peccatello. Thank you so much.
And
with that went viral last week when a lot of different things were posted about China and Russia, a variety of other different countries. So now Saudi Arabia has partnered with China to build an oil refinery for $12 billion, and China and Brazil have reached a deal to trade in their own currencies, ditching the U.S. dollar. What does this mean for our stock market, our economy, and what do we do to protect ourselves?
Yeah, this is the thing that people have been asking the most. It's like, what do I do to protect? So the two tech, two index strategy will work whether we're number 1 or number 3, number 5 in the world. It's really important. We talked about it last night. I never said it before, but any company that you're investing in, you want to make sure that they have good relationships in China, Russia, and India. India especially because their population is growing really fast. And Apple just happens to be building a huge plant there. We'll have a lot of jobs there, have good relationships in China and good market share. What does this mean for our stock market and economy? If we don't get our affairs in order, we're going to be in trouble. This is no different than, like, let's say I'm in, I don't know, the Bronx, and I go outside and say, nobody wants smoke with me in the Bronx. I wish y'all would come outside. And then all of a sudden,
not a good idea.
Not a good idea. And then that was 9 people from the Bronx out. I'm like, Poppy, hold up.
Then you up in smoke.
Right? Up in smoke tour. Right? So now, if you ever seen Breaking Bad, like, America's Jesse Pinkman. Loud, obnoxious, troublemaker, and then all the cartels, which would be Brazil, Russia, India, China, South America. I'm even looking now and seeing Oman has joined. Of course, we talked about Kenya before. We've been a bully for so long that all of our enemies are coming together to work against us. That's why we talked about it last night. You have to be very careful who you go to war with, because this generation may not be the one that attacks you and defeats you. It may be the generation after. I don't want to be salacious and say what I said at the show, even though I believe it's true. Platform is bigger. But if we do not get our affairs in order, it's going to affect our stock market because we really don't have any advantages anymore outside of the military.
I'm glad you stopped right there because the military was the number one thing for that region.
Yeah.
Right. We were protecting our interests, right, which was oil at the time. But like these type of moves, when I read them and I see it, the number one thing I think of is our dominance is waning. Now, how fast does it wane?
It'll be a 10 to 30 year period, but things can get bad over the next 3 really fast.
I think that statement is grossly exaggerated. And the reason why that our dominance is waning.
Why?
Well, I'm going to say why. So I feel that, we talked about this before, America still has the strongest military in the world. By far. Not even close. So from a military standpoint, nothing has really changed. The American dollar is still the strongest, most used currency in the world, by far. It's like 100-yard head start in front of the next currency.
But we about to blow our knee out like I did when I got fouled. You know?
But then also, I don't think it's the world is becoming flat. So a lot of this stuff is politicized, but everybody's working together and everybody is moving around. But when you look at who really runs the world, is corporations. 90% of the top corporations are American-based companies. So when you have Apple, when you have Amazon, when you have Google, when you have Meta, when you have Microsoft, the common denominator is that those are all American companies. So, and they're all international companies. So they do business in China, they do business in India, they do business in Africa, they're going to do business all over the world. But the world is driven by technology, and all of the strongest technology companies are American companies.
But we outsourced a lot of our tech to India.
Workers.
Which is key, which is a huge mistake too. Also, like, notice Apple and Microsoft over the last 10 years, Tesla's tried to make a huge push into China. They also are protecting their interests to make sure that they're dominant in other countries if we fall. You guys don't have to listen to me, even though I said this 2 years ago, and then I see everybody tag me in that wealth post. Shout out to them.
Yeah.
I'm like, I've been telling you this is coming. But if Apple and China are building that big-ass facility in India and China, there is a reason why.
Well, I think that it's only intelligent to, why are we in Canada? We're not local. We're not minimizing ourselves to America. You would be an extremely unintelligent person if you only do business in the area that you actually live. Like, the world is your oyster. So you should be finding ways that you can make money across different borders and across different regions. So if you're the biggest companies in the world, why would you not invest infrastructure in different economies?
At one point, we didn't have to, though.
Right. This is what I'm saying. So that the word waning is like, let's say 20 years ago, could you even imagine Saudi Arabia saying that we're not using this currency anymore?
Well, Saudi Arabia never said that they wasn't using the currency.
Well, but in the deal with them in China for the oil, that's what they're saying.
And also,
that's one deal.
And this deal, I'm saying, 20 years ago, that wouldn't even be
that
a
was
thought.
like a super conspiracy, like that would happen. Now, India were trading and rupees going for it, ditching the U.S. dollar.
Yeah, but like I said, a lot of this stuff is semantics, because
that's not semantics.
It's not a major threat to America. Everybody knows that China's economy is on pace to pass America. It's been documented for the last 20 years.
Yeah, but but I've always said
I think that's two different conversations, right? Like, is it a major threat? Maybe not. Is the dominance waning? I think so.
Dominance,
but it doesn't have to be. It's not a major threat. Yeah, that's why I said. And how long does this take?
About 30 years. Listen to me, please. Right? But 30 goes by fast, but we're going to see a huge change in 10. And it's not China versus U.S. It's China plus India, plus Ghana, plus Kenya, plus Mexico. Okay, now if we're going to be super, that virus came here, that was stage 1 of war. When that fentanyl got shipped to Mexico and Mexico moved it to the States, that's phase 2. TikTok, phase 3. Dollar, phase 4. No one else was talking about this 2 years ago. You think I went to Mexico just because the tequila good? And what?
Easy.
No, I'm
Easy.
like, I want to get away just in case things go down. Como se dice, I told you so. How you say I told you so in Spanish? How you say it in French? Let me know. I'm telling you, y'all don't have to listen to me. This happens all the time. Bitcoin never gonna fall that far. And then it falls, and then I'm like, told you so. We'll monitor the situation. Bricks. We all know an old gangster that was like a gangster in 1982, and all the young boys run them off the block now? That's America. Get off my block, Otis. I'm playing with you no more.
Get up, Craig. Get up, Craig.
We will monitor the situation.
Yes.
For sure. We will monitor the situation.
So we got 30 years. All right.
Yeah.
But like I said, I mean, even if America is not number one, not the end of the world.
That's true. That's why. Is it a major threat? Maybe not a major threat, but going from 1 to 2, that means the dominance is winning.
But as investors, my favorite.
But yes, the dominance is weighing for sure.
Okay.
But it's not something. It's not a drastic. It's not a drastic fall. That's what I'm saying. It's like
that's true.
The decline is going like this.
Yeah.
But everybody has already seen the decline. It's not a surprise.
But here's the thing, and this is like that business lesson, right? If you're not growing a business, what are you doing?
Dying. The kid, the dog, everybody dying, no lying. Hey, genes too tight, leadership terrible. We exported everything that was great about America to another country and got mad when other countries took our motto, remixed it, and used it against us. We got to keep some stuff homegrown. Also, as investors, the most important exercise is this. What do you do if everything goes wrong at one time? 25 years ago, when I was buying a Shine album or something, I never would have thought Brazil, Russia, India, China would come together and say that we're going to come off the petrodollar and we will lose our tech dominance. Even being here in Toronto, their main institution, like main sector that is doing well is the banks.
Mm-hmm.
It reminds me of 1980 through 2007.
Yeah.
Once we went super tech heavy, it led to the downfall because we started printing money too fast and putting too much money into these companies. It's led to our
But I
downfall.
think that's true for even this economy right here in Canada. It's like to have that level of dominance from one sector is risky.
Yeah, they're gonna slowly diversify,
right? Like
Here's but I don't want to label this point too much because we have other stuff to talk about. But here's my last thing about America. America definitely has a lot of issues for sure. But the one thing that America has over the vast majority of almost every other country in the world is that all these other countries, the government really runs the country. America, business runs the country.
Yeah.
So when you go to China, it's like the government is stronger than the private sector. Even here, they were saying like how strong the government is out here, like as far as the rules and regulations. You can go down the list. Any African country, the Middle East, whatever. That leads to slower growth in the private sector. It's a reason why 90% of the companies that are bigger in the world are American-based.
I agree.
When you have government that is in control of the situation, it is not beneficial to private sector growth. So I say that to say America still has a tremendous advantage from a political standpoint because even though it's hard to get anything done because politicians don't really have that much power, it's actually beneficial for business because now that leads to businesses becoming independent. And business really runs government because lobbyists pay for politicians and they push through what they want to get done. So no other country really has that system running as efficiently and effectively as America. It's not even close. Like I said, all those other countries that you just named, the government runs everything. Saudi Arabia, the king runs everything. The kingdom runs everything.
Yeah. What happens when you have the government that creates the company that can now attack?
That's they already have that. That's with China. That's with Russia. But I'm just saying it hasn't worked. It doesn't work in the same manner. It's been improved.
That's TikTok.
That's TikTok. One company. But
I'm just saying that's a good example.
But what I'm saying is that one or two Alibaba, it's gonna pop up.
Yeah.
At mass scale, they don't have 100 companies. They don't have 500 companies.
It's difficult.
It doesn't work in that same manner because government is not efficient in that. Government is to provide for people. Politicians are not business people. This is why when
in the States, well,
just in general, for the most part, there's always going to be exceptions to the rule. But for the most part, this is why the socialist governments, they don't work. You can't run business if you're not a business person.
It's tougher to do at scale.
Extremely difficult.
But when I saw Putin and Xi Jinping making pancakes together, like I've been friends with Todd for like 25 years. I never made no pancakes together? In public. You know how long you have to be friends with somebody to make pancakes to them in public? So what if they go to labor your point? Hey, this traditionally hasn't worked and they're making pancakes together, putting a little honey on it, do the sorbet thing. What if they go to Elon, because Elon is not from the States, and say, hey, move Tesla over here. No taxes for 50 years, and we'll make sure that you have global dominance in China. What would that do to our market? All these Indian CEOs.
Nothing.
If they
don't do anything.
They wouldn't do nothing to our market?
Tesla's one company. Tesla's still going to operate on the American Stock Exchange.
I think nothing is a vast overstatement. It will do something.
And with Indian CEOs, if they get incentivized to go back to India or build more there, and we lose 4 big major players, what happened? We can say it though, man. We saw what happened to Cleveland when Braun left.
Shout out to Donovan Mitchell.
All right. Okay. We'll revisit this conversation.
My graduates from my school being Forbes, bag drop.
Well, family, that was the last video for the night. I dropped the Clubhouse link in the chat. So if you wanted to come to the Clubhouse and talk about tonight's presentation, we'll be there to discuss it with you. So you all, we thank you so much for being a part of Truth Be Told, and we thank you for being here tonight. And may the Lord bless you in your rest tonight, that you wake up revitalized and able to accomplish your day in peace.